Take a breath.
Take a few breaths. Okay, you're ready.
The time is now 5 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda. A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please rise for the pledge. Mr. Miller, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a robust group tonight, so if you can all make sure that your watches or cell phones are silent so that they're not ringing or dinging during the meeting, we would appreciate it. We're going to start with informational reports with our superintendent, Dr. J.
All right, well, Madam President, members of the board and guests, thanks for coming today. I have a few congrats to give out. First of all, I want to congratulate our boys basketball program for an amazing season, finishing 26-1, which is a great feat. And as a longtime basketball coach, I can tell you that is just an amazing accomplishment. In addition to setting, I'm sure, several school records along the way, we had a couple of major awards, which we have very few of these throughout our school history, but having a region coach of the year, Coach Bonner was selected as the North Central Region Coach of the Year, so that is a huge accomplishment to get that. And he's alumni, by the way, I just want to point that out. So.
And you hired him?
And then second, we had a Region Player of the Year too, which again, there are very few in our school history, and that was Keaton Ort. And what's interesting is that his father was also one of the only other Region Players of the Year in school history. So congratulations to Coach Bonner and Keaton on being Coach and Player of the Year for the region. We have other region winners that we'll be inviting to our March 22nd meeting to also be recognized, because there was several across all of our winter sports. I also want to recognize in wrestling, JP Cahill and Tyler Flynn. Both got 4th place medals at state, so huge accomplishment for them to get to the state tournament and to medal there as well. They'll be coming later for recognition. And I also want to give my appreciation to Coach Salzman, because he's one of our longest tenured coaches, and he continues to build a very strong wrestling program and has just continued excellence throughout in all the years he's been coaching here. So I want to thank him. Like I said, all of our winter sports student athletes who were awarded some kind of AIA award will be at an upcoming meeting to be recognized and get a challenge point from us here at the district office. I attended the Stellar Students last night, and I just want to thank the town for continuing that. As principal years ago, I remember when we brought that in, and it's great to see that still going strong, and it's a big deal for the children and the families. Lots of families had close to 10 family members there per kid to see their child receive recognition from the town council and our mayor. So very cool that that's still going on. I'm continuing to meet with local groups throughout. I've met with realtors, faith organizations, and government officials, and that's continued. Today I was lucky to have some time with Jerry Friedel and Brenda Kalavanakis, and we took a tour of the high school and middle school campus, and we spoke about just how we can work together as a school district in the town. I've also met with Mayor Dickey earlier this month. We meet quarterly. I also met with David Schweiker, and we had a good conversation about where we're headed and where the school district's going with consolidation. I also met with Alan Skillicorn, and we walked the field and took a small tour of the campus and I met with John Kavanaugh earlier in November. So trying to meet with all of our local officials. I have the rest of the town council scheduled, and all of them will have met with me hopefully in the very, very near future, and then we'll continue to the next group and the next group, trying to make our school district the centerpiece of the town, and trying to partner with everyone to work with them in a positive way. Also want to thank Justin Weldy at the town for putting on a great presentation on our safe route to schools. More to come with that, but we're doing some safety upgrades with school for kids who walk to school and ride their bikes to school and make it safer for them. They received a grant, and we had a great meeting of you know, where we're putting additional signage and different safety features moving forward. Also want to thank the Fountain Hills Coalition. I attended their last meeting, which was yesterday, which was focused on Native American cultural awareness, and they had a training on just a lot of different factors of understanding history and understanding you know, where we're headed and how we can all work together. It was really great to see a lot of people there, and I truly did enjoy the presentation. I had my first admin training program cohort meeting, which is something I wanted to start this year, where teachers in the district who have a desire to maybe go into administration, I'm offering them a opportunity, a monthly training program to get them ready for their first interview, get them ready for maybe if they need to find a college preparation program. And we did some case studies on, if you're an administrator, how would you handle this situation? And we talked about what makes a great administrator, and what are some reasons why they want to go into it. So we had 6 teachers in the district interested in administration, and it's my effort to try to grow our own next generation of administrators that want to come through our district. And lastly, just an update on Frank. Frank has started a Be Nice campaign here in the district, and he's out and about. We have some signs coming in that give some advice to our younger students and even our older students about the importance of being nice. Frank is our English bulldog that comes to school at least once a week, if not twice a week, and just spreads joy to the campus. And so we have a Be Nice campaign with Frank at the center of it. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding Dr. J's comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to governing board reports, and we'll start with Mrs. Confer.
First, I went to the Arizona State Bar Association Bolts meeting, which was very interesting. I think it really put some light into me to really understand the money, where it's coming from. So they cleared it up a little bit more than what I had. Other speakers, were somebody that spoke to us already about, the law. I heard it for the second time, which was always good. And we did a few scenarios, so that was really helpful to try to figure out what to do with that. I've also attended the coffees with our superintendent, the high school and the middle school. So it's been very eye-opening, especially certain things that are happening at the middle school, which were a little scary, but I think we can deal with a lot of it if we start working with it now. High school is great. Everything that they're trying to do now, if we move forward with changing our scheduling and all. That's about it.
Ms. Reed? I too attended the coffee with Kay, and I did it virtually again. That's very helpful, especially as a single mom. I know a lot of parents probably appreciate the virtual option. I also attended the coffee with Hartman. That one's not available virtual, so I was in person for that one. And it's his birthday today, so I hope he's having a happy birthday. And then I too was really impressed with what he's trying to do, what Chris is trying to do at the high school with the electives and things like that, which we're going to discuss tonight. And then I volunteered at the PBIS store at the elementary. That's something they need people to help with that store. I was able to meet John Glenn's daughter because she works there. That was really fun. And I actually took my daughter to work at the store with me, and it was really cool to have her interact with the staff and also with Otter. And then I went to the boys basketball game, the home one. I wasn't able to make the Prescott. I always get this two mixed up. I wasn't able to go to the non-home one, but I went to the home game, and again, they are amazing athletes. I was really impressed, and I was impressed with the turnout. It was good that there were a lot of people there. And then I attended a training focused on parental rights, which I thought was very informational. I think it's good to try and build that relationship with parents. And it also touched on, community member rights when it comes to the school district as taxpayers. And I think that that's something that is maybe a little underutilized, bringing our community into it, as they're not only affected by the education system and the youth, what we do with our youth, but they're directly invested in it. And then I also did a Robert's Rules online training, which I found helpful.
Okay, Mr. Sarr?
I'm good.
Ms. Settle?
So I joined Dr. J and Councilmember Skillicorn with the tour of the field, and I appreciated that, and I'm excited to have that on our agenda tonight, so thank you. Like both board member Acker and Reed, I did do the coffee with Kane and also with Chris Hartman. They were both great. I appreciate that our district allows our parents that opportunity to come and meet and bring up questions they had. Tuesday night, I attended the Maricopa County Superintendent training. I was at the EVIT Lunch and Learn last Friday to learn kind of about the programs that they have, and attended the boys basketball game. Super exciting, and I want to say congratulations to the boys as well as Coach Bonner for their efforts this season, and how great it is for Mr. Ort to have a son who now has the same, Keaton, so that was super exciting. And also attended a couple other various trainings. So.
I too attended the boys basketball game, and it's always fun to watch our Falcons play. I'm a longtime Falcon athletic parent, so I really do appreciate our kids and the opportunities that they have here to play sports. So many multi-sport athletes come out of Fountain Hills. And then I didn't get to go to Prescott, but I did go to Desert Canyon Bar and Grill last night, and I'd like to thank Mr. Ort for hosting the Falcon families and trying to stream. It didn't work out streaming, but that's okay because there was a lot of spirit in that room, and so it was great to see other Falcon fans cheering on the basketball team. And unfortunately, the outcome wasn't in our favor, but what a great season for them. And when I was at the basketball game the other night, I noticed there are 9 seniors on this team. So good luck to those 9 seniors and whatever they do in their future. And I look forward to those upcoming teams and Coach Bonner just, bringing up more fabulous Falcons. So, all right. We will move on to district celebrations, employee spotlight with Kathy Cook. Yeah, I got that. You got it. Oh, dang. Yeah, I came prepared.
All right, hi everybody, I'm the HR coordinator, my name's Kaylee. I'm going to present our employee spotlight tonight. Employee spotlight is somebody who's nominated by peers. So it's not supervisor nominated or anything, it's somebody who actually works with this person every single day. So I'm going to call Kathy up here from the high school. Come on up, Kathy. So I'm going to talk about you while you stand here awkwardly, if that's okay. So Kathy, some of the things her peers have said is, Kathy never says no. She's the most giving person to anyone and everyone. She's been so helpful to me in learning about my position here at the Fountain Hills High School. That's by Rita, your old coworker. Ryan, who works with you right now, she's always saying that you're going above and beyond, taking care of everything and everyone. You're the glue that holds the front office together. And you're always going out of your way to help and assist anyone who needs it, myself included. When I need job fair memorabilia or anything, I call Kathy and she gets it to me immediately. Yeah, I'm not giving it back. No, she's great. And then Hartman said that you are known as Our Lady Falcon for many reasons. You're reliable, dependable, and always willing to help where you're needed. You fill in whenever you're asked in many different roles, and you always want what is best for the students of Fountain Hills High School. So we just want to appreciate you and your peers. Thank you, and we love you.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
It's your program.
Oh, come on. Yeah, we'll let you. All right, okay.
Let's all do it.
okay. here. Thanks, George. Thanks, George. Thanks, Kathy. Congratulations.
Okay, next up is our consent agenda, which includes the personnel action, the authorization to appeal to the Arizona Department of Education, fiscal year 22 ESEA grant funding, update to the language of the action for the item that was approved February 8th of 2023. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'm sorry,
the question.
in the Robert's Rules training, they said I had to move to remove it from the consent agenda for discussion, or I can just discuss it with you guys?
Take it off.
Okay, I need a clarification on the personnel report, personnel action.
Okay, so we should have done that during the agenda when we have before.
Oh, wait,
we
we can do
agenda.
it, do it now.
Okay, okay, go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, so I move that we remove the personnel action from the consent agenda.
Second, all in favor of removing the personnel action from the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so then our consent agenda will only be the authorization to appeal the Arizona Department of Ed FY 22 ESA grant language. Do I have a motion on that?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, including the authorization to appeal the Arizona Department of Education.
I second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, personnel action. Go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Under new employments, for the Evo Lions, it has an effective date of 2/13/23, and there's also, she's listed on the resignation for 2/13/23, so I just wasn't sure if that was correct or not.
So I think I kind of heard you right, but I just want to repeat it just to make sure. So you're asking about Eagle Lions, right? About her start date and end date?
Yes.
So she came on with us on the 13th, I think is what it says. She also left that same day. So
Okay.
she just did a one-day thing. So that's why she's on the same one. I didn't want to put her on another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions about the? Okay.
Any other questions regarding the personnel report? Okay, hearing none, I move that we approve the personnel report.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is information discussion items, regulation GCQC. Dr. J.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, yes, this is a regulation, so this is more for just information, being transparent about our process. This is not something that needs a vote, but in this regulation, this is regarding resignation of professional staff members. And so, as we went through the meet and confer process and we met as a administrative team, one of the things that we wanted to change was the fine for a employee when they break their contract in the middle of the school year. So what this regulation is now going to is from $1,500 to $3,000 if they break their contract in the middle of the year. I want to be clear that with any employee who comes to us with the potential resignation, we have, since this year, since we've all been a team here, we always work with an employee. We offer leave of absence. We offer many opportunities for them to avoid resigning in the middle of the year. But due to the fact that we have seen more of this in the last few years than we have in the past, I do think it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be something where an employee needs to understand, a certified employee needs to understand that abandoning their job in the middle of the year has a huge effect on children and not having a teacher. And at the same time, when we're being very, we're being very flexible and trying to work through any issues that pop up, to abandon your job and leave, we just believe it needs to be a little bit steeper of a fine. We do report them to the Department of Ed as well. But you all have the ability as a board to decide whether or not someone is going to pay that or not. And I can say the history of throughout is that when someone comes with a valid reason of why they need to leave in the middle of the year, the board has always worked with that employee and not charged in the past. If they've gone through the right steps and through followed the process and professionalism and those types of things. So you would still have nothing changed with your ability. You're the ones that decide whether or not that fine is imposed. But we just wanted to increase that as a deterrent even more of job abandonment. And we just need to make sure that people understand when you're a certified teacher and a certified employee and you signed a contract, that you need to finish that contract, or at least you need to do it in a way that is professional. And when that is not happening, there needs to be some kind of fine attached to it. So that is what we are, like I said, bringing this for transparency, that we are updating regulation, but this is not required. So any questions?
And just to give a little bit more information for anyone who's listening, that only applies to teachers, to contracted employees who start the school year. There's different levels. If they sign their contract in the year preceding, anywhere from April 1st through May 15th, and resign during that time period, it's a $500 fee. If they resign from May 16th through the summer before the start of the school year, it's $1,500. And once the school year starts, because now our kids are left without a teacher, the fine is $3,000. Are there any questions or comments regarding the update to the regulation?
Yeah, I just had a couple. Where did the 3,000 come from? Because this one wasn't corrected up here, like it was changed on here. So were we doing one that was lower than what's kind of set regularly? Is that why we're changing it?
1,500, and
Okay.
we're just changing it to.
Okay, but that's not set by anybody but us. Like we choose. Okay. And then the under timeline, it says incomplete forms will result in a request being denied at the district level. Is the employee given an opportunity to like fix the form and resubmit
We
it?
are very flexible.
Oh,
The last
I
thing we
imagine.
want is a teacher to
Okay, yeah.
And it's my understanding that this language came from the meet and confer.
we run
Teachers.
everything through there, yes.
Agreed.
Get them to be on board with it and approve that kind of language, yes. It's a very rare thing. It really should be extremely, but we've just seen more and more of that, and not just in our district, but just across. There's a teacher shortage, and with a shortage of staff, I just firmly believe that you gotta exit professionally.
And it's not uncommon for districts to poach teachers, when they're short of teachers, so if you don't give them a stiff penalty, technically they're in breach of contract. They sign a contract that they're gonna be here for a certain time, so just like if we went and signed a contract for, a gym membership, like there's penalties for it, so. The 1,500 isn't scaring anybody at this point, so.
And if it was the other way around, if we, in the middle of the school year, said, we don't want you here anymore, have a nice life, you think there might be a problem?
Exactly. They would probably sue us,
Yeah.
so, and there are reasons, that they can resign in lieu of dismissal, circumstances outside of their control, their spouse gets relocated, they, get advanced in our district, so there are reasons that they can move out of their position, and get the waiver, but to just walk off the job, which is just not acceptable, it's detrimental to our students.
And there are states that actually have a very stiff penalty where they could lose their license altogether.
That's why we require an department, we let them decide what to do with that situation.
Okay, any other questions regarding the regulation? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the 2024 proposed school calendar. Dr. Jay?
Yeah, so, again, looking at the calendar here, we had several meetings as a calendar committee. It was made up of various stakeholders in the community, and each side represented. And we looked at a variety of calendars, and what we decided to present to you for this first read and get feedback on is a little bit more of an innovative calendar. It follows very closely to what we've done in the past, however, we did make a few changes. One of the things that has come up a lot in our survey data and just speaking with staff, remember I sit at each site twice a year for the entire day taking feedback. And one of the things I've heard a lot from teachers is that they feel like they don't have a lot of time, and time is becoming more and more of a precious resource. So in this calendar, what we did is we moved the start date up 3 days, to August 3rd, and that is on a Thursday, so it's a short week. Our elementary teachers were very adamant that they just want a couple of days on those first few with their young students, and then have a full week the following week. So we did that. But what we did is we took the 3 extra days and we added them to the end of each long break. So for example, at October break, students would have the full week off, but then they'd have the following Monday off as well. So for a family that travels, I know it's happened to me, you come home on Sunday and school's on Monday, there's a lot of laundry to be done, there's a lot of things that gotta happen. So we thought for families, having 1 extra day to get ready for the school week would be a benefit to them, but also for our teachers, because each of those days would be a full work day for them. No students, they'd have the whole day to themselves to plan, get caught up, and collaborate and do things that they don't have time to do. So there'd be 1 in October, there would also be 1 in January at the end of the winter break, and then 1 in March at the end of spring break. So teachers like that, we would be paying them for those days, so it is a small cost to the district, but we believe that if we're trying to build a great place to work and show our teachers that we're listening to their concerns, we believe that this is a really good solution. The only other change is if you look at winter break, it would start on,
Wednesday,
yes, I can't see.
That's a half day.
On my
Very
glasses.
small print. So they'd start on a half, the 20th would be a half day, and then they would have their break would actually start on a Thursday, say Thursday, Friday. And part of that is the timing of Christmas. You can see that if we ended on Friday, they would have basically Saturday and Sunday, or Saturday and then Sunday is Christmas Eve. So the thought was that people need some time to shop and need some time to do some other things. So the break would go Thursday through Wednesday for students. They come back on the January 4th, which is a Thursday, and then for elementary, again, starting that new semester, it'd be a short week, which they really pushed for and really wanted. And so graduation would still stay the same, it would be on that Friday, the last week of May, actually the 24th, not the last week. But we really thought this is a great calendar to meet the needs of our parents, our students, and our staff. And I can say that students I spoke to after it was one of the holidays, we're one of the few districts that came back on a Monday.
January 2nd.
Yes, and we heard about that, and so we thought, well, maybe we should do that for all breaks to give everyone more time. So I'll take questions, but that's what we can do.
So I have 2 questions. One, usually half days only apply to the high school unless they have finals, which, based on some things you're working on, they won't have finals in December. So that half day, that doesn't affect their time minutes, right?
No, not if we move to a new schedule.
Okay. And then my other question is, right now it says school times are to be determined. Will that be filled in before we're asked to approve this calendar?
Yes, we had a very long meeting today about it, and we're really close. We're just working out, making sure that we've got every minute counted and that we're getting all of our funding. So yes, we're very close on the time, starting and approving.
Are there other questions regarding the calendar?
We're looking at all the different pages, just on the second page.
This is just for the
main.
school calendar, not the work calendar.
Okay.
So just the 9-month.
Just the 9-month calendar,
Proposed.
yeah. Just the ones that affects the students.
I like having that date for the teachers to come back and get ready for whether it's second semester or next semester, and then the students still have a few days. It's a good way to get back into it after a break.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that that's great for our teachers, that they can come and get themselves settled before our students, not everybody's walking in the door at the same time.
And we have a lot of teachers planning on Sunday night on their time, and that gives them, they can finish my break and know that I have that full Monday. And the last one in March will also be our staff picnic, which will be, then it'll be our second annual by then. And so the mornings work, and then the afternoon will be the staff picnic. And then we don't have to worry about moving student, seat time or anything like that. It's already scheduled into the calendar. Okay?
Any other questions?
Those that have been around know that how I feel about calendars. In the 30 years I've been on, I won't ever voted for one. Because I'm a balanced calendar person. And just as an example, even starting July 17th. So those students that attend EVIT will have a few more weeks of half days. But still, we have to have 180 days and there's some other requirements, so this meets it. But I'm glad that we're looking at different calendar structure. I mean, the national data is all over the place in favor of this. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, we had the bale hay in the summer. We don't do that much here. So I think it's important that we look at the academic side of it as opposed to the other issues that are involved in the calendar. And I think we need to start thinking more academically.
Does our fall break and spring break correspond with EVIT? Do we know?
Yeah, I believe it does, because
coming
they
year,
have a
because that's the
2-week
issue.
break now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe the spring break does align with Scottsdale, just for anyone that is concerned about it.
I think actually both do.
Oh, October.
Both fall, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing, that was just information discussion, so it'll be on our next agenda for approval. Next up is the proposed work calendars on pages 14 to 19. Dr. J?
Yeah, so the first one you see on 14 is a 9-month calendar for employees that are 9-month. We have on page 15, our teacher proposed, which includes those extra work days that, like I said, they're being paid for those days. So their contract would be 3 days longer than it's been in the past, but they're being paid for those. And that also helps, a little bit with overall teacher compensation. It's not a huge number, but it's a positive number. Page 16 is the 11-month principal, and some of our other deans and assistant principal people that fall in the 11-month calendar. Really, the only changes really reflect, and those are these new, the way the other calendar reads. The only real information I want to share is on the 12-month, which is pages 17, 18, and 19. So on page 17, that is the first, we'll call it Plan A. It's very similar to today's, but it has the 1 week over winter break, right? It's 1 week of vacation time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, 2 weeks. So it adds a week, I'm sorry. So right now, 12-month employees have 1 week of their winter break that is off, and then 1 week of work, which is very unique because a lot of other districts don't do it that way. So that's unique to us. Page 18 is revision B, which does 2 weeks off at winter break and gives as well the spring break, right? And that's exactly how FHUSD does it now with their administrators. Their 12-month, they get winter break off and they get spring break off. Currently, we would have to take off spring break and October break and a week of winter break, which when you compare, say, trying to retain administrators, we don't pay as high, and then they're working more days than neighboring districts. And then 12-month C is putting in where it's similar to the teachers, where it's October break, the winter break, and the spring break are all off. So those are the 3 proposed for 12-month. And like I said, this is just the first discussion on it. So give me questions.
No, I just saw a typo on, should it be first one?
9-month calendar.
On the 9-month calendar, just to look, it says July 2022. Just correct it to 2023, the others are all mine.
Yeah, that's easy.
Right.
All right.
So currently all the employees listed on the 12-month proposed they do not get that time off for spring break and,
We have to take it off of our personal leave.
okay.
How many days it varies by staff, but what
Varies
is the
by-
average for an administrator?
Probably, what is it, 20, Kaylee, for administrator, how many days off? 10 and 10, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's.
And is the calendar committee going to recommend one of these proposed calendars, or?
I think we want to get your guys' feedback on, you know, and then yes, I would recommend one of them as we move forward. One of the things we are up against is we're in a very competitive market for hiring and retaining. And so when you're seeing more and more school districts, you know, bring people on with things like virtual work and work from home options and more pay and more days off. And so right now, our administrators across our neighboring districts make less and they work more days. And so this would, you know, if we ended up with Plan C, that would give us an advantage over at least our biggest competitor, where our administrators would have one extra week of time that Scottsdale does not have. If we go with Plan B, it would be pretty identical to what FHUSD does, and Plan A would just give us an additional week out of those, you know, basically those 4 weeks that are not paid.
I think it's a great opportunity for a district our size with fund restrictions that we have to be able to think outside of the box with
Well,
the
I have
extra
a
time.
question to go along with that, because they are marked as paid holidays, so, why is it not just time off?
Well, it just means it's a paid day off, instead of us using our time.
Okay.
So like right now, over winter break, we had to work the first 3 days of that break, and only had the 2 days at the end that were paid. And so you have to use your own time, or you work those.
So how much does that increase our fuel?
It
does.
It stays the same.
It just allows us to give a advantage or to our faculty without hitting our volume.
Okay.
Which I think is excellent.
Yeah.
Did any staff find reasons to be here, that parents or people were reaching out and wanting an answer during that time frame?
No, not that came in.
Yeah. So I think it's a great opportunity to reward our staff.
And their responsibilities haven't changed. So even though they're getting more time off, they still got to do the same amount of work.
Well, and we all know that our administrators are at tons of night events, weekend events. And so when you really break it down, giving them that time with their families, and that's another thing we're trying to build here, is, you know, we're trying to get our staff picnic to be a family picnic in the future. And really, you know, the push is on our employees to have a good work-life balance and, you know, be with your families and not burn out at these jobs so quickly. And so I believe this is a step in the right direction to give them, again, it's a great place to work because I feel cared for and I feel like I'm given this additional time that maybe other districts don't do.
And so many of our admin work at home, so even when they're off, they're not working.
Correct.
You know, they don't take every day off, because like Dana said, they still have work to do, so to get their work done, you know, they still figure out their time.
It's a great idea.
Any other questions regarding the work calendars?
I guess my confusion was just in the, you know, because in the teachers proposed, you know, their spring break and their fall break is just marked as holiday break, so instead of paid holiday,
Because their contracted number of days is different than ours.
okay, so it just has to
They're
be marked as a
184
paid
and we're-
holiday
Yeah,
for
we're
you not to.
240 or something like
Okay.
that. So that's why we do it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none.
It's on our board packet as an action item, but it's on the agenda as an information only.
For the calendars, so
Oh, no, the
That's-
calendar you see as action is just that one.
that's
Yeah,
just
that's
that one
just
day
one.
that we
Okay.
talked about last
That's
time.
good.
Okay, so next up is public comments. call to the public. Call to the public, this is the time for the public to comment. Time limits may be allocated on public comment at the discretion of the board president for the board to efficiently complete its business. The board reserves the right to prohibit any comments made in a discourteous or threatening manner. Complaints about specific individuals, students, or personnel are discouraged. Personnel issues should be directed to the appropriate staff member or administrator per district policy. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. We have several public comments. We will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person, which is our typical. When you are called for a public comment, please come up to the microphone and speak loud and clear. The first one up is Joe Greco.
Hi, everybody. So the first thing off my agenda today is I want to thank the football team for staying true to your cause and making your accomplishments. I want to thank everybody on the board for helping our school district become more effective and safe. Kane, my thankfulness really goes out to you for giving my kids a place to go to school, and I look forward to what you guys bring to our town. Mr. Miller, I didn't expect to see you. We'd still love to see those baseball fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greco. Next up is John Davies. I'll give you a 30-second warning as you get close.
Should be good. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you, team, for showing up. It speaks volumes as to see all of our kids come out and show their support for what we're trying to accomplish here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Davies, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak. I'm here tonight to encourage your support to allow Dr. J and the volunteers to move forward with arranging the replacement of our field. With the bond voted down and a total wave of funding issues coming to the surface, I quickly learned of the tremendous impact this loss had to our schools and our students. I joined a group of wonderfully dedicated and caring parents, as well as Dr. J and Coach Zonner, to see if we could figure out a way to help our kids in our community. I would like the board to understand, I am a father of 2 high school athletes. My youngest, Connor, is a freshman. He plays football. And he actually lettered in his first year. He was deeply impacted when the news hit him that he might not have a team next year and would be faced with the decision to go to a different school just so he could play football. Brendan, he's my oldest, he plays soccer. He lettered in all 3 years and is now faced with not having his soccer team for his final year. I myself this year helped coach the soccer team. It was an honor to do so, and saw firsthand nightly how badly our students needed a safe place to play, as well as a home field they could be proud of. Members of the board, I think it's important to realize that sports isn't just an after-school thing. Sports teaches our young people how to come together as a team, how to help teammates and opponents when he or she is down, how to be leaders, and to see the fruits of their hard work and have a sense of pride. Playing sports led me to this moment. From day one, this team said, we will not lose in regards to our field. It's a shame we even had to go out and raise these funds, but with the hard work that my teammates put in to secure the funding for this field, they were a shining example of how to overcome adversity for our kids. In closing, I want to make sure credit is given where credit is due, and thank those responsible for making this possible. First, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. J, Evelyn Wynn, and John Flynn from the district, and part of my team, Tana Borisma, Amanda Bose, Star Greco, Mario Sepulveda, and so many others that I know I'm forgetting, as well as Wendy Barnard and Rich Barnard, for making this seemingly insurmountable mountain actually happen. I would also like to thank the members of Fire Rock who stepped up to help our district when it matters most. Working with Dr. Jay and Tana for arranging the majority of this funding contingent on you allowing this to go through. Finally, thank you to each and every person, business, volunteer, and students for their amazing generosity in turning a negative into a tremendous triumph. Thank you.
Next up is Rich Barnard. I will give you 30 seconds.
Corporate guy brought the laptop. George, I'd like to get a picture with Kay when we're done too. If you're just gonna go around and do that, it'd be great. Not everybody gets my name back. Okay, so my name is Rich Barnard. Thank you to the board and Dr. Jay for allowing me to speak tonight on the football field. I just want everybody to know that I don't want to be here. And why? Is because for 8 years, the Barnard boys on Wednesday nights, we used to go out and get the best food ever because there was a certain person that was here for eight years. My wife, Dr. Wendy Barnard. So as a gesture to the boys in the back, the football boys, we're gonna get something to eat after this, all right? Does that sound like a plan? Thank you for being here, it means a lot. Why am I here? I want to show appreciation to the people that made it possible for us to be here tonight to talk about this. The facts are simple. When we were faced with the election results, we rallied, as a team does. There was no intent to hurt anybody. It was to give my son a senior year on a home football field. That's why I'm here, okay? I'm not going to accept the reality of him not having a senior night. Why am I here? I was fortunate enough to play high school sports and college baseball. 4 of the 6 people that stood up with me, I played baseball with, okay? Sports matters. Why am I successful in some of the things that I've had an opportunity to do working for 3 Fortune 40 companies? Because of some things that I learned on that field of play and those teammates that I had. And that's what I'm fighting for those boys. My proudest moment in sports is when my senior Jake, or my graduated kid Jake and Nate became captains of their football team as juniors and seniors. Okay? That's where I'm coming from. That's my passion. My other part of the story is when I say sons, I'm talking about my sons. When I'm talking about my boys, I'm talking about since 2010, coaching everything I could to help this community. That's how I could give back. It's all right here, okay? The other reason that I want this field, and again, you know, I'm a little passionate about this. This is Jake Barnard, okay? Jake Barnard. Blew out his knee, senior year, didn't get to play basketball. This is Nate Barnard, 2 months ago, or a month ago, after shoulder surgery, okay? We had to do 3 cortisone shots in the last year so that he could play. I want a new field. I don't think I'm asking for much of any parent who's in my role, in my shoes, wants. Okay? I have to give credit where credit is due. Kane, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being able to help and rally around us. Thank you to Tana. We're here because of you and your drive, and you make us want to do more. Coach Sonner and the members of Fire Rock. Coach Sonner, thank you. If there's anybody that needs the name of the field, it's you, Coach Sonner. Thank you. You know what you've done and the time you spent with our boys and on football field. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you have done to get us to this point. Okay? Why I'm here? Because of one reason. It's always been about our kids. Thank you.
Donner? You're up next.
5 seconds.
35 seconds.
And wipe my tears. Well, in coaching, everything's got to be on time, so I got 3 minutes. Well, everything is a ditto for what previous people just said. I've always had a passion for everything I do. And I have a passion for what he just said. It was very nice what you said. But I've been around since 2007, watching all these kids playing soccer. They needed a tent for a track or whatever. I gave them money, go buy a tent. But I've seen these kids since 2007, since I retired from the NFL. So I'm a volunteer coach since 2007. I was not happy about the bond, but again, things happen. And all I could tell you is the people at Fire Rock, I went to them, we talked, Kane came over, Tana came over, we talked, and they all agreed, you know. They're smart people up there. They know their property values are based upon a good school system, good school district. And if you don't have a field, the kids are gonna leave and go over to Desert Mount, they're gonna go to Scottsdale, they're gonna go wherever, but you're gonna lose kids. Now, I speak from the heart, as you can tell, in my experience as a former teacher. I started, well, first of all, it's all about the kids in my teaching and coaching. But I started as a teacher in the inner city of Milwaukee and went to some suburbs, and I've seen good, I've seen the bad, and I've seen the ugly. I've seen great teachers, I've seen mediocre teachers, I've seen bad teachers. But to me, you know, the school systems, it's all about your teaching staff. Now, my passion in life, you know, matches what, and I've gone from a teacher in high school to an NFL coach. But my passion, and I love what King is doing here, I've known him ever since he was a teacher, or excuse me, the principal, I've been around him, he left, he came back, and he has a passion for this community. You know, I said, what the hell are you coming back here for? And he says, I've been in this community for 30 years, and I'm committed to doing it. And I said, now, if you're committed to doing it, then I'm committed. And that's why I'm raising the money, and it's because these guys right here in the front row, and there's 2 of them, raise your hand, from Fire Rock, and there's about 7 or 8 more people that are willing to try to raise the $525,000. Now, we're almost 2/3 away there. But it's not gonna happen until you guys vote that you're gonna give him the funds or the reason that, and then we will get the money, because we're all are ready to give the money, but it's not gonna be given until we have a pledge from you guys that it's gonna move forward. So, 258. Teachers, the most important people,
Overtime.
yeah, the most important people, I think, that are underpaid are the teachers. And all I can say, if you have another bond, pass the bond, pay your teachers more, because it's all about education, athletics in your community. 10 seconds.
The last request I have is actually an email that came from Tara Lamar. She says, thank you for taking the time to read this email. I apologize for not being able to attend the FHUSD Governing Board work study session scheduled this evening, but it's the first game of the season for our Fountain Hills High School varsity baseball team, go Falcons. And I will be sitting in the stands cheering them on. I will be too. I'm writing you today to express my support for the FHUSD Governing School Board to approve Dr. J to have the ability to spend up to the $225,000 to be used towards the Fountain Hills High School football field. I have heard both the options for the field and feel approving the $225,000 is the most fiscally responsible decision despite the short-term higher cost. Being able to secure annual maintenance and a 10-year warranty for both field replacement and labor costs would eliminate our district from being vulnerable to repeat the current scenario we have found ourselves in. The other field option merely replicates the original board's decision, which hasn't fared well publicly. This is a very vocal community contingent that we have made their voice clear. They believe that the board in place when the field was initially installed should have made financial decisions that would have protected our district better. I am confident this board will put those voices at ease and act responsibly to assure history does not repeat itself this time. I have learned that this upgraded field would also provide a higher quality turf foundation padding for our athletes, and in my opinion, would help to minimize the significant volume of injuries our current athletes and the teams that have played on our home field have experienced over the last few years. The safety of our athletes and others is a top priority for Dr. J, as he has expressed on several occasions at his Coffee with Kane and when speaking to the public. Our school board has a responsibility to keep the safety and wellness of our students a top priority, as well as the 10-year field is unquestionably the best option. The school board has also made the commitment to listen to the voices of the community, and our community has been quite clear that they support a new football field. I appreciate town council members Skillicorn, Brenda Kay, Hannah T, Sharon G, and Jerry Friedel for promoting our athletics continuously on social media and demonstrating to our district the town's support of our FHUSD athletes. I'm also proud to see our local businesses showing their support of our athletic programs, from the Chamber of Commerce, Senior Taco, Ace Hardware, Safeway, Bashas', DC Bar and Grill, Euro Pizza, Sips, and so many others that are offering donations, QR codes posted on doors, spare change initiatives, and other promotions to raise money for our field. The community has widely demonstrated they want us to move forward with the new Falcon Field. It is my hope that at your meeting tonight, the board will make it clear to the public that the district is committed to the students' well-rounded educational experience and will spend district funds accordingly. While Dr. J is rolling out his academic program, upgrades and improvements, we must showcase our commitment to the social, team building, and physical needs of our students as well. Without a new home football field, we will no longer be able to have Friday night lights in our hometown. There will be no more halftime shows by our pom team, nor will we have the return of the fighting flock of Falcon Fury, taking the field and performing their marching band musical magic. We won't have homecoming or a senior night for the fall sports athletes. A piece of the heart of our community and the cherished traditions of the high school experience will be lost without this field moving forward. Finally, I believe that the governing board needs to demonstrate their commitment to our district through this expenditure, as we will continue to be in desperate need of outside backing to navigate our way through this very challenging financial time as our override dwindles and we move forward without a bond. Dr. J, the athletic boosters, and Coach Sonner have worked tirelessly to procure donor funding for our football field, and those donors are understandably cautious in providing such funding should the board not make it crystal clear that the funds will be used as intended, with our own district funds also committed. I encourage the board to do the right thing and support Dr. J as he continues to lead our district with integrity, innovation, and determination to find positive solutions for the obstacles set before him. He had to find a way to get a new field without the bond, and he has. He has done it thanks to the athletic boosters and Coach Sonner, and they are ready to step up and do more, but they need to see that the governing board will also do what's best for our district and our students. Please vote yes for the 10-year field and provide approval to spend up to the $225,000, which is a fraction of the overall cost, thanks to Dr. J's efforts to acquire private donations. Our Fountain Hills athletes, football, soccer, track, etc., marching band, home team, seniors, and the entire FHUSD student body, their parents, family, friends, and the community as a whole are all depending on you. With gratitude, Tara Lamar. So, thank you all for your public comments, and to the Falcon football players that are here, I just want to thank you for coming, because this is your school. You have a right to express your opinions, and you have a right to let the governing board and the district know how you all feel. I know that a lot of that was expressed through your coaches and your parents, and I just want to say thank you for stepping up. Next up are action items. The first one is the March 10th, 2023 half day for all students. We talked about this at our last meeting, that we would adjust the calendar for the staff picnic. So do I have any questions regarding the change in the half day?
I just have a comment that I think it's a great thing that we're trying to cultivate, like a familiarity throughout the sites and with our staff. I think that it's going to be a great opportunity to make some friendships there.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the half-day for all students on March 10th, 2023.
I second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is meet and confer for we'll start with the professional staff, even though they're under the same one. Dr. J, do you have information?
Madam President, members of the board and guests, the document, everything in red is updated. I can assure you, I met with Dr. McGilligot and spoke with him personally about, before I came to you tonight with this, if FHEA and the teachers supported this, and the few questions he had, once I clarified that, we were good. One of the big questions is, we're moving to, for next school year, students will be doing surveys at the end of the year of their experience in classrooms with teachers, and it's for growth and feedback only purposes, and basically our goal is to let teachers know that here's 3 things that you could set as a goal for next year to try to improve and be better, or trying to be 1% better in everything that we do. We just felt it was important for grades 6 through 12 to do a survey, and grades K through 5, the parent would do a survey and give the teacher feedback on things that they could improve upon. Once we clarified how that would work, they were supportive of that. So that would be something for next year. The only other piece was with the compensation, moving some of the money from Prop 301 into the base salary. They do support that, and we verified with Dave and finance that is okay to do. It is, and most districts have already done that, so we did not. That would give them a little bit more base pay throughout the year, which again is another way to hopefully close that gap with some of the salary issues that we're facing. So with that, I'll take any questions, but just so you know, the teachers have done that. I want to thank Kaylee Brown for leading that cause and doing all the work, and Alicia helping out with that, our new finance. So any questions that you have, one of us can answer.
So this is all the stuff that's not in red is the agreement that was already in place, correct? Okay. And then for the club sponsor, is that only athletic clubs, or is it academic clubs and any clubs?
We all,
Okay.
when you say club sponsor, that would just be club sponsors.
But I mean, this
Coaches are under athletic coaches, but they're in a similar supplemental pay group.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because it talked about the athletic director and then it showed the club sponsor scale, and I believe that when I asked if club sponsors were compensated, I was told no, so I just wanted to
No, they are.
clarify. Okay, okay, that's great. And then for the substitutes, is it accumulative for the days, like if they teach over 14 days, once it's accumulated, or
It
is
should
it,
become a long-term sub.
is that, just on this scale, it said 0 to 14 days and then 15 plus days, if
So
someone's
15 plus would be, you go in the long-term category, and it's a higher pay raise.
But is it like a one job, or is it like if one teacher's
No, it's
utilized
one
more
job,
than
it's one
once?
assignment.
Okay,
So if a teacher goes out on maternity leave, then we bring in a long-term sub, they're paid at the 135, which is a higher rate than it's been in the past. We approved that earlier in the year, and that is also a benefit to retirees of the district, because they're paid out based on the sub-rate pay, and so that helps them with their final check as they go into retirement.
And just an interesting tidbit on that, substitutes also earn vacation time. which
yeah,
is
I remember.
weird.
Yeah.
They do, so they get that plus some vacation.
My only question was kind of surrounding the committees, that the employees are required to join no less than 3 committees per year. What is the approximate time?
Typically, each committee meets either quarterly or monthly. I can say when I was principal, I had 12 committees on the campus. And, I didn't, back then, we just really didn't need to put that in writing. It was just kind of people join. If we want collaboration and we want teacher feedback, we need them to be a part of that process. And so, as part of this meet and confer, we're working together to find a solution to that, to ensure that there is teacher voice and that they have an option what committees they serve on is up to them, but it's important to be part of that student, or sorry, that school voice to build a better organization.
I have one more question. On page 29, about a third of the way down, it talks, it says the last sentence of the paragraph says the board agrees to make available to the committee all information received from the insurance company or the insurance consultant. Wouldn't that be superintendent? Would you be the one that provides that to them, or is that something that they come to us for? Right above discounted preschool, the last sentence. Oh, it might be a different page on the, I just have the printed one.
Yeah, I think it's a different thing.
I mean, that's language that's been in there, we didn't change that. I'd have to look into it and get back to you. I mean, it's not something we made a change to.
Okay.
I definitely like the wording here, and I like especially on leaves, having had to go through this with a sister-in-law who had passed away. It's nice that all the wording is there, and family means a lot. It's well written on here, so. And I like, as much as you don't want to, but to put that teachers do have to do things because you end up having the same teachers always volunteer. So this is good that everybody needs to be doing this.
And then under class sizes, I noticed that the class sizes were a little bit higher than they have been previously, and I know that with the meet and confer survey, we knew that class sizes weren't the top priority. But I think that this is even higher than what we had talked about. Oh, 34, I'm not.
It's under working conditions.
Yeah.
Their pages aren't the same page.
Right.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so
Those are max class sizes.
those are max class
That's
sizes,
signed by our
budgeted.
board policy.
Well, but I have been
Type
taught,
J or IIB or some policy.
even before I saw this, I was approached by a teacher who said that she was told that she was gonna have 28 students next year.
Well, that's not accurate because we haven't even started that process. I can tell you that if it's in black, which they all are, they
Well,
have been changed.
Okay, well, just off of math that she had done with the grade that would be coming to them, they don't have the staff to have less than that. That's, at least that's where they stand now. I just wanted to.
I would say they're assuming things because we have not even, until contracts go out,
We don't know.
we don't even know who's coming back. We've done survey data, we've been proactive. We have a feeling of who's not coming back and who is, and that number, we hope is, right now, I believe overall, it's a low number. I think we're trying to get it lower. We met with everybody who's undecided and trying to work through any issues that they have, but in order for us to get pay increases, you cannot have class size of 17.
Yeah, I understand, and I think that's what they were looking at, is that we know that there is a teacher that's not coming back from the grade, and so there was just some concern that the class sizes might be a little bit.
This is the max. This is if we're busting at the seams in our building, and we need to do that. We would not move, I've shared this over and over again, we would not move a teacher from 17 to 30 in 1 year. Like, it's a slow increase. So when we say raising class size, that may take a couple of years because we're not riffing anybody. We're doing all through attrition right now. So if a teacher leaves, we may or may not replace that one.
Yes.
But we will try to balance it out so that they, and if they do have a higher class size in the lower grade, they may have an aide with them, which a lot of them have said an aide would make all the difference, they'd be fine with that.
Okay.
But the bottom line is talking to our finance, consultants, we can never compete with the other districts unless we raise class size. And so we have to find our happy medium for Fountain Hills, but all the years we've had small class size, that has not raised enrollment at all. That's why we've had a 10-year decline. Now, first year we are raising enrollment is this year, we've had plus 79. And so I think we can find a balance, but if it's in, those numbers have been in mean confer for years, so we're not changing anything. Okay? Yep.
Any other questions regarding the professional staff meet and confer? Do you want to talk about the classified?
I would just say, do you have any questions? It's a pretty big document.
Any questions regarding the classified or support staff meet and confer? Okay, Hearing none, I move that the governing board approve the professional and support staff meet and confer agreements for 23-24 school year. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the description for the child care specialist, Dr. J.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, yes, this is again, we're asking for a new position called child care specialist, and this is part of our commitment to our community to bring the best preschool experience we can to our community. One of the things that, in speaking with parents, that has always been a concern for them is our hours of operation does not work well with them in their jobs. So we are proud to share that this year we are moving to the before and after school care for preschool. And
Here's
that
what I
will,
found. Sorry, Siri.
Krista, I said to turn those off.
and so anyway, we're very happy to see, parents, I think are gonna be very happy to know that they're gonna have before and after school care for their children. We're gonna talk about price here in a minute, and the name coming up. But basically, this position would provide support to those teachers and really give them some prep time because of how many hours they're working and working before and after school on certain days. The idea behind it is to hire a classified employee as a child care specialist to come in and really provide some help in the after-school program. And then also, right now, the teachers have that early release Wednesday time, so building in some prep time for the teachers at the preschool with a combination of seniors coming down to do internships. We just think that this is a big step in the right direction, and it is again a classified position. So in the overall budget, it's a very small number, but I think it's going to provide additional help to our community.
Other questions regarding the job description?
I just have concerns that I shared with Dr. J prior, that we're talking about a job goal for someone who's maybe 21 with a high school diploma or equivalency and at the least six credits of early childhood, that we're asking that they implement programs for the personal and emotional growth of the referred students. I think it should just be implementing programs for the growth of the referred students.
I kind of agree, because it concerned me a little bit that we, I don't believe it's public education stewardship to deal with emotional growth. I think that we need to be more academic, and so to me that was a little concerning as well. I think it should be more focused on function.
I think if we don't have emotional support, we don't have growth in academics either. So I think it's good to have
I think
the
it's not
wording in
that,
there.
yeah, I think it's not that we ignore it, and obviously we case by case type basis, but I think it's a little concerning to have it be a focus of the teacher, I guess. And then on the essential duties, it listed establishes positive individual relationships for the purpose of building student confidence and self-esteem. That was another thing that was a little concerning to me, because how that's done is very essential, and it's important to kind of teach kids that those things come from themselves and from good behavior, things like that. So I understand that it is something that will be touched on. But again, I think that the most important thing is focusing on, the academics and making sure that these kids are given the education or the skills that they need to succeed so that they can have that self-esteem and confidence. I don't think that comes necessarily from a person. So I don't necessarily know how I would reword it, but it was concerning to me as well, especially given that it could be someone that's very young and still probably dealing with that in their own life,
So without the professional education that comes along with those descriptions.
And they'd be under the guidance of the teachers. It's just like similar to a parapro position where parapros work with kids individually and they work with them to build up all those things. But like I spoke with our teachers and they firmly believe that the program that they're providing our students is yielded lots of success, and they're very successful. And I trust in the fact that I've seen what they do, I've seen how they work with our kids and the things they're trying to teach our children at a young age of how to, enter into school and be successful in there. And this position is really, more about, an assistant to those teachers, and they'd be working under their guidance.
And the standards specifically point out social emotional learning. So it's not uncommon for that to be in the job description as it's assisting with the standards. So, we're designated by the state to teach that. So it's just how it's taught.
And we are looking at young kids.
Yeah, preschool.
So we need.
First time in school?
Yes, first time in school.
And we heard from, Mrs. Milnar at our last board meeting regarding how they teach social emotional learning, what aspects that she, focuses on at preschool levels.
Clear though, it's the preschool level, and we're gonna mince words, but it's social emotional development, not learning. And my issue is not with our certified teaching staff, it's with asking someone who may be 21 without the appropriate education as a job goal to implement a program for personal and emotional growth. You're saying they're supporting it, the wording here is they're implementing it, and I think we could just put implementing programs of the referred students and nix personal and emotional growth.
Is that a motion?
Not at all.
Okay, are there any questions or other comments regarding the job description? Does someone want to make a motion?
If we wanted to move to amend it to say the other thing, is that what we would do?
You haven't made the motion yet, so you can make the motion and say it.
Okay, I move that we remove personal and emotional from the job description.
Second.
All in favor of removing personal and emotional growth from the job description, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Your suggestion. Just different.
Now
Right.
we,
Well,
now
so-
we need to vote and approve it.
Mine was that, to implement programs for the growth of the referred students. It was truly just taking out personal and emotional. Right,
Do you want to make a different motion?
he said mine was different, I think.
Yeah, your motion, what you stated when we were talking about it was different than what the motion was.
Yes.
So I'm asking, do you want to make, we still have to
Okay.
we're going to make a motion, so.
So I move to approve the child care specialist job description with removing the words personal and emotional.
I second.
So your motion then would say with specific responsibility for implementing growth of referred students.
Programs for the growth of the referred students, yes.
So I have a motion to remove the words for the personal and emotional growth.
Just personal. and
Just
emotional.
personal and emotional. So it would still read implementing programs for the growth of the referred students.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
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 No, wait. Personally, I get what you're saying, but that's not the words I would use, or the changes I would make. I think there's others, and I'm not in a position to do
Okay, so do I have another motion, or do I have a motion to table this, as this will be the third?
I move that we table it.
Second.
I have a motion to table the child care specialist description. All in favor say aye.
that. But discussion first.
Yes, you can have discussion.
Is this a position that you're gonna fill quickly?
No, I mean, it's booked with this school year for next year.
Well, you can't,
You can't do it until you approve it, though.
I know.
It would be for next year.
For next
All right.
and it would be part of the before and after school program, not a professional in the classroom.
No, they would be, my understanding is that the way we set this up is that they would be working with some of the time during the school day, but mostly really the focus would be the after-school care. But we also want the flexibility to use them where we need them, so I don't want to be on record saying it's only this time. We primarily see them working in that area, but remember, we want to provide support to these preschool teachers so they have time to plan and time to work. And we are working with our licensing agent to make sure that it can be done in the correct way and who can be in there. You know, utilizing senior interns and a child care specialist, we could get a very, very strong candidate who's in an education program to become a preschool teacher. So, you know, we don't settle on hiring, so we would find a great candidate to come in and do that job.
Any other discussion here? So I have a motion to table this and I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So please relook at it and bring it back to our next board meeting as an action item. Next up is the teaching job description for the teacher SEI ELD. Dr. J.
And members of the board, yes, this is just really, you know, when we've been going through contracts from the previous year, this is just us, you know, making a recommendation to be more specific with the job description of this position. I believe this is a newer position that came in the last year or two. And we just want to make sure that the teacher, before receiving a contract, understands exactly what this job description is and what the expectation is moving forward. And I don't believe that has happened in the past, so we're just kind of cleaning that up.
Any comments or questions regarding this job description?
As a former teacher who did this, good descriptions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the job description on this one, I liked a lot better. I highlighted two. One, encourage students to set and maintain acceptable standards of classroom behavior. To me, that feeds into self-esteem and confidence. And then I also, the assist students to become self-directed learners. I thought that was excellent as well, because again, that helps with self-esteem and confidence in a way that the student really takes with them. It's not dependent on the
This is
teacher.
mainly for students who come speaking another language, so it goes along with all of that. Teaching how to work in a classroom in the United States and everything else.
My other concern is with it being it says live or online, or live online, I mean targeted instruction. I definitely would encourage it not being online, even if it's, you know, a teacher in a class with students that they put on a program on the computer. I think that would be better than online learning. I think that we've seen that online learning might not be the best form of learning for kids.
Yeah, I don't think that's the intention. The intention is, I believe, that if, you know, those positions can be hard to fill, and so we may have to be creative in the future if we can't find somebody.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments regarding this job description? Okay,
I move that we
Accept
approve.
this, no, sorry, I move we accept this description.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the authorization to finalize the agreement with AstroTurf for the warranty for the FHUSD athletic field. I think we've heard a lot about this, but do you have any comment?
Yeah, this is a recommendation that the governing board authorize me to finalize an agreement with AstroTurf regarding the warranty of the FHUSD athletic field. The Fountain Hills, you know, as superintendent, I've been in discussion with AstroTurf regarding the warranty of Fountain Hills High School's athletic field. And in order to proceed with the procurement process, FHUSD as a district, we need to finalize an agreement regarding the warranty and coverage being offered by AstroTurf. Once an agreement is finalized, the district then can proceed with procurement of any non-covered items. And the reason it's AstroTurf is they purchased Nationwide Turf, who was the original manufacturer, and we've been in discussion with them. And so this is the recommendation to move forward with that warranty process.
Just to be clear, it doesn't give approval for any spending at this point, and it doesn't give approval on one warranty versus the other, right? Like,
are you
What it's
looking?
giving me is the opportunity to move forward with AstroTurf regarding what they're providing us with a warranty. And then once I have this approval, then we would then go out and do the procurement, bring that back for an authorization as well. But I believe that this recommendation would move us in the right direction in letting, you know, our community know that we're moving forward with this process and that we are committed to getting this field replaced.
Are there any questions or comments?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
education is not just textbooks. I think it's very important that we have sports, that we have music, we have everything else that's extra. For some students, that helps them even more than just a classroom. And I hate to see any more students hurt as they have been. I'm just amazed at how wonderful our entire community is that is willing to come forward and help us as much as they are. It's too bad. The other things didn't work out, but maybe they'll realize that, you know, we move forward and we look at things in the best way possible for everything. So I highly suggest that we pass, we okay this, and that the community knows that they can help us out and go forward with it. And if we could say anything, I would say let's go for the 10-year when we come around to it, because we don't want to get into the same thing as we have now. We'd like somebody to be coming every year and making sure everything is safe as it should be.
I'm a little confused on this one because I know that originally it was, the action item was to approve the spending. And then when it changed, I thought that was great, but there's no supporting document. So I don't know how to approve the finalizing of an agreement when I don't have a copy of the agreement to look at. And I think that this was something that previously maybe wasn't done in a way because there's no record of the previous agreement, and it was.
That's not true. I'd like to correct you on that.
Okay,
There is
well,
a
we've
copy
asked-
of the
Okay, we've
Right,
asked and we
so-
have not received that, so.
Right, so.
Where is it?
So the previous warranty was, it was a verbal, in the board presentation. So we do have the folder and we have different parts of, you know, the pellets had one warranty, the turf had a different warranty, but the board always knew at that time that it was a 10-year warranty. I've known that the whole time.
Okay,
The
but where's
bond-
the original agreement? Because that's what I
It's a
asked for
folder,
and we
it
didn't.
doesn't it's not like you get with your washing machine that says this is the warranty. It's the warranty through core. So it's only in the board presentation that they gave us the 10-year warranty. It's not like a document
But
other than the board
when you
presentation.
entered into an agreement with the
Let me try
company,
this.
we didn't have something with an agreement.
Like I shared with you, the warranty is being honored by the manufacturer, okay? So we've been very clear on that. The manufacturer is saying, we will provide you a brand new rug, is basically what it is. But to install it and dispose of the other one and do the grading and do all that is going to cost a fee, okay? So we have to procure that fee, all right? That's one of the steps in this. What we're asking for tonight, what we're bringing this forward is to bring to our community that we are moving forward with replacing this field, and that we are moving forward with the warranty part of this. And then, once that is approved, then I can go do the procurement that needs to be done, so that we're following all our rules, and then come back with that additional authorization at that time, okay?
But so what is the agreement that you're finalizing? If there's not any terms or anything that I can look at, I don't understand.
To accept that AstroTurf is gonna provide the field material.
Okay, but what I'm saying is we don't have any supporting documents for that, so, and originally it was on here as approving an expenditure.
That was my error. That was totally mine.
Because we can't approve something without the procurement piece. In order to do that, I need to get the board to approve for me to proceed with the agreement on accepting their warranty offer that they're providing.
And we don't have a copy of that warranty offer for us to.
We do not have the warranty. I've been very clear that I was not here, I don't know what happened to it, but.
No, I mean a copy of the warranty that AstroTurf is offering.
they're providing the same field. It's just, it's the same like the same product, they're providing us the field. It's roughly a $250,000, field material that they're giving us. Yeah.
So if we go forward with this approval, which I wholeheartedly believe that we need to, and we need to heal as a community, and I want to thank everyone who has supported and spent their time on this. If we move forward with this agreement and giving you the opportunity to finalize the warranty, when it comes to procurement, there really won't be another company as an option for that procurement because no other company would install the,
We'd have to pay for the whole turf at that point.
We will bring bids, we have to, in the procurement process, we have to get bids. And none of them are going to be in this same ballpark of price. And you are correct, that if we take the field and have somebody else install it, then there's no warranty. So yes, this is a unique,
only for the carpet is what.
Right.
correct, and this is a unique action item, but it's on here to show support to the community that we are moving forward with this.
I understand, I'm having a hard time because of that I'm approving an agreement that I haven't looked at, and I think that we've done wrong by our community, because when we first, when it was first being discussed that the field was gonna be condemned, we said there wasn't a warranty and that we weren't gonna get it honored. That was said to me in a meeting with you, and so I pushed you on that, I said, there has to be a warranty, let's find it, let's get that taken care of. Now we're seeing that that's being taken care of, and that's awesome. I just don't want us to get into the same position where, we are leaning on our community for support. We want them to trust us and know that we're doing our due diligence. I don't want to rubber stamp something because there's definitely pressure to support it without even looking at it. And it's not that I'm not in support of it. My brothers played football on that field. I've been to a million games. I understand the importance of sports, but I don't want to get us in the same situation where in a few years, there's an agreement that has holes in it that,
So
we're not
the
going to take care of.
company was honoring the warranty the entire time, we just had to get the right players at the table. So they never said no. Okay, so I want to clarify that. Second is, you're authorizing me to finalize an agreement and bring back to the board. So there's no agreement here because I'm going to work with them on the final agreement, bring that procurement to the table, get bids, bring all that back to the board for a final purchase. What we're trying to do is, we're trying to let our community know.
So this was put on the agenda just as a community.
It's put on the agenda to allow me to move forward with, this is the way our finance has asked me to do this, is to bring to you, to allow me to finalize an agreement with AstroTurf regarding the warranty, and then once that is done, then I will go out, we'll go through the procurement process, and we will bring back a recommendation and an authorization to finalize that. We can't do that without.
I don't understand what we're approving if we don't have a copy of the agreement. I guess that's my
We
confusion.
need to finalize an agreement, to work with them and finalize.
Again, so this was just a community,
Show of good
yeah,
faith.
show of,
I'm trying to get this done.
which we all want it to get done, but that's why I'm confused by this, because there's nothing for me to look at to know what I'm approving. And obviously I want us to move forward with the field and get that taken care of. One of the first things I said is we can't lose our ability to have home games. But I don't understand what we're approving if there's nothing.
It's more of giving him direction to go ahead and work with AstroTurf. It's not really approving, you're not approving a payment, you're not approving anything, but it's really giving him direction to continue to work with AstroTurf and try to make a deal. So
Is that something that he needed from us?
he does.
Okay.
According to my findings, team, this is what they've asked me to do.
There are certain things, just like when he goes to issue contracts, we have to give him direction to go
Yeah,
ahead
but
and issue
usually we can
contracts.
see the contract and say,
Right.
okay, these things are
Well,
good
this is
to
just
go.
working with AstroTurf and working on the warranty. They never had to honor this warranty because their original warranty was 8 years, but they told the board 10 years. So the
And
warranty
it was only
set-
because community members and people like me pressed
That's not true. I've
Yes.
known the whole
Well,
time that was 10 years. I know,
I
there's a lot
agree,
of
but,
misinformation
no,
out there.
and this is not from someone else, this is my meeting with Kane, when I
But
asked
he
about a
wasn't
warranty.
here when that
No,
happened.
I'm talking about when I first met with Kane and I asked him, when I first just been elected, the very first time that we met, I said, is there a warranty? What have we done to maintain the field? You know, and you led me to believe that the warranty, there wasn't gonna be a warranty, there was no way to get it honored. And I said, well, we need to push on that because in almost every agreement, it says, you know, it lays it out. And that's when I originally asked for a
And
copy
what
of
we
the
had
agreement.
at the time is the institutional knowledge was shared down from me, from John Flynn, and from others that have been here, was that it was an 8-year warranty, and my concern was that it was probably expired. But I also have not said anything publicly into our community until I had all the answers. And once I
I
got
appreciate that.
all the players at the table, and speaking with President Cord, they said that they would honor the 10-year warranty as a group. So there's never been, it's just finding all the people and reliving things that happened, 10 years ago and trying to figure all that out. I can't help what records were kept and how they were kept. All I can tell you is that it's been a slow process. And I've said, even before the election, I said, I'm still working on warranty information. It may be free, I don't know the outcome. That's why I never even talked about the football field prior to that, because a lot of this is up in the air. And so when you communicate out, this is, unfortunately, things get twisted, and so I've tried to clear that up at times. But like I said, we're trying to move forward with this, and this is what Tyler shared with me, that he would like me to do from a finance perspective to move forward with the field.
I call for the question.
Sorry, what?
I call for the question.
For the question, okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to give the superintendent authorization to finalize an agreement with AstroTurf regarding the warranty of the FHUSD athletic field. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations, boys. Now, all of you go eat and do your homework. With that, we'll adjourn the business meeting and we'll move into the work study session.
Glasses, I couldn't see you.
I think we need like a 5-minute,
Get a copy of that agreement. Like,
Wow.
well, it's not just the line, when you enter into the agreement, I mean,
Then nobody.
Copies of before it's.
That they're covering. That's why I'm having this involved. That's what, I mean, it's not strict procurement, and I don't feel somewhere else, that we're discussing.
yeah, I understand, but I think when this originally came out, that was, you said that couldn't happen, so we needed all this money in. I know, but what I'm saying is the reason that we now know is because people pushed on it. I pushed on it. I know other people pushed on
Worked it all out there to make sure that everybody, every warranty, everything was dotted and all, everything was done. And so it's just, we're gonna talk, it's gonna go through a lot of things that get done. Yeah. I will bring back to you guys in full, I have a bidding process, and we'll.
I don't like that I'm getting the feeling that we're manipulating our community, and that's what I think is happening. When it first came out that our football field was gonna be exempt, it was all because we brought it over at the pass, which I don't necessarily think was true, and then.
Never was the labor, that's the problem, that's what was coming out of the bond, it wasn't the actual turf that was coming out of the bond, it was always the labor. We didn't have the money for the labor. and
By the
we
way,
still don't.
We should do the next meeting.
Okay,
Agreed.
all right,
Thank you.
call to order for the work study session, we have, where'd Chrissy?
Oh.
She went.
It went from an oven to a
To
freezer.
freezing, yeah.
Grady had, did you see that?
But he left, it's John.
Yeah.
Oh, listen.
Came.
yeah, go ahead, wait till.
We'll wait till Krista comes back.
Yeah.
you adjust the hair too?
Feels good to see.
Really? Yes.
I didn't your toes. I didn't.
Let's wrap it around your head.
It's like, I know, I was thinking, it's like Krista at the last meeting when she was working at him. Oh, here she is. Oh, now we lost Kate.
All right.
I'm having concerns about the coolness in the room.
Yeah, can we turn up, oh, it's freezing. Hey, Kate. We're ready. Still talking.
Talking about it, so let me talk.
We'll call the meeting to order for the work study session. Kristen, do we have any public comments for this session? We do not. Okay. Moving forward, information discussion items. We'll go over the new course proposals for the high school. Dr. J?
Madam President, members of the board, yes. So in order for us to continue to provide our students with opportunities and with looking at a new schedule for the high school moving forward, which we're still working on and ready to present to you, we just believe that having more elective opportunities and more class offerings will help us continue to grow. And if you look at all the classes that are offered here, there's information on the pages, following this. The only one really that is, I think, probably needs a little description too, is financial health and statistics. That would be a senior level course for students who are done with Algebra 2, and maybe math is an area of struggle for them, and moving into pre-calculus or even Algebra 3 might be a really tough course for them. So this still is above the, above the Algebra 2 level, but it's a course that we believe would help students who possibly struggle with math and get them through their fourth year of math in a class that is, again, a little bit lower than what we offer today, but also still above the Algebra 2 level. Creative writing, is a class that we've been trying to bring on for a long time. We have interest from a teacher. And we believe if we had if that teacher were left, there would always be an interest in creative writing. It's a great way to add to our ACT scores and to build up our writing skills. Building on AP Human and Geography is just another way to add another AP course. It'll probably be offered every other year, along with World History and U.S. History, Government, and Economics. Art History is a very popular class online, since we have so many kids taking online classes, so the idea was to bring that to a live classroom, and then the rest are all advanced PE courses to help support athletics and also to give our coaches an opportunity to work with kids in their spirit, in the sport that they love, and build upon that. And a lot of our competing districts offer these types of advanced PE courses to students. Each course would be basically one term, so it'd be a half a credit per. And they'd be offered scattered throughout the schedule as a way to give students more opportunities to do some things that they don't already have. With that, I'll take any questions.
Will the PE credit be replacing other PE credit or just that?
No, they still need to take their first PE course, but this would be advanced PE. So you would, once you finish that first one, like kids take weightlifting multiple times, they might take basketball or wrestling courses and things like that.
So who puts the curriculum together for something like financial and stats?
So that is a course that we would be working with our, right now it'd be working with our PLP provider that we use. We are reducing some of that, but we will keep enough of it for our virtual academy and for possibly one course of this. We don't expect that class to have more than, I would think, one section of seniors in that course. And so the curriculum on that one is through PLP. Any of the other courses, we would, again, work with, most of these classes are already offered through the board of regents. So finding a description or finding what that looks like is pretty easy for us to do.
And creative writing, ChatGPT. That's about as creative as it's gonna be for the next 1,000,000 years.
No joke though. I think this is great. I'm really excited about a lot of the courses. The AP Human Geography I think is great because it kind of is similar to anthropology, which I always loved learning that kind of stuff. I think as a high school student, I would have loved these kinds of classes. I love that we're bringing creative writing into it, and that they're, for the creative writing too, they're looking at maybe working with a film class to write scripts and stuff like that, and having that translate over to the film class. The question I had was for the anthropology or human geography class. It says, can other currently employed teachers at our school teach the class? I wasn't sure if we had a teacher that was ready because it said yes, they would just need to be a current history. Do we have a teacher on board for that already?
For the human geography?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone can teach it that has a social studies certificate. You don't need anything additional for AP.
Okay. I just didn't know if they had already had a teacher set up.
Can I talk about AP, the human geography before you go on?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I just have a little bit of a concern about AP human geography and what I've looked up. And one of the comments about who will succeed in the AP human geography, it talked about students who are emotionally mature. Some of the topics discussed in the class are deeply personal and should be handled with respect, and I trust that our teachers will do that. But I do have a little bit of pause regarding AP human geography. I hope that the curriculum that would be used would be on review for 60 days and hopefully not over the summer if it's starting for the first trimester. That would be all that I would be asking on that.
Well, all the curriculum would need to be approved, correct? Through the board?
Well, this is the course, and this would be authorizing us to move forward with the course. The textbook, if there is a textbook to go with it, then yes, that would need to go on display, go through the textbook adoption process. With AP, we don't have a lot of, you're teaching to a test, so you have to cover what's on the test, or you're doing kids a disservice. And they're not going to be able to pass the test without that.
So
yeah.
most of them would be utilizing a book then?
They would be, for AP, I don't believe AP human geography will be offered next year because I don't know if I'll have enough time to get the textbook adoption and all that done, but this is for the future that, it may be offered the following year. If we get it through and it's ready for next year, that'd be fine, but I can assure you that as former principal that the community has thrived on the AP courses, and it's a big part of the reason we lose kids. So if we don't offer these AP courses, we will lose students to other schools.
My only concern with the AP human geography is I was surprised to see that it was advanced ninth graders and 10th graders. Like, I would expect that to be a little bit older, but
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
The social studies ones, and are traditionally looked at as the ones if you have an advanced ninth grader, 10th grader, those are the ones you want to start with. They're the ones that have the highest pass rates. So that's why I've always been very clear that if a 7th grader could pass AP geography, I would let them take it.
sure.
When I looked up other districts that had the AP human, a lot of them started them at 9th and 10th grade and didn't offer it in 11th and 12th, which I thought was interesting
A lot of
based on
times
the.
a lot of times it's an alternative to world history for kids.
Yeah, and it's on here, we don't offer AP World History because there weren't enough kids that were interested. And again, these are classes that if there's not enough kids interested in taking them, then they wouldn't be in the schedule either. I give our teachers a lot of credit for being creative and coming up with alternatives, for electives. And I really like that there was girls athletics and then yoga, movement, and mindfulness, because I think that will also be a class that, you know, a lot of our girls will take, female students, and maybe some of the guys too. I mean, it's open to anybody, but historically, the athletic department had the most electives, and it was all geared towards boys and sports and contact sports and things like that. So, and it's taught by Luke and Bonner. So I love to see, you know, some more offerings for students that don't want to go out and rough it up.
And let me add to the girls' athletics is being proposed by Amanda Baca, and it's to grow interest in varsity sports for our female athletes.
I really like the financial algebra statistics. I think
Yes.
that's something that's needed by everybody,
Yep.
so it's really a good addition.
I'm excited about the wrestling because my brothers did wrestling with Luke Salzman, so I think that's great. I did have a question about the girls' athletics. Is it gonna be a bit redundant since the girls could do the basketball or the volleyball or the other athletics? Or is it gonna, what exactly is the girls' athletics gonna?
I think it's more for kids who are interested in athletics, but maybe they're not committed to the volleyball program or to basketball program, so it gives them a chance to look at, you know, volleyball and softball and track and field, cross country, all the different sports, try to grow interest.
We had life sports is one of the electives at the high school, and it's 90% guys that take it. And so if a girl doesn't want to take dance, or she doesn't want to take, you know, art, she ends up in life sports with all these guys. And so hopefully it's a way for life sports to kind of go into more of like the female athlete. So to give them an opportunity, and like I said, like life sports typically was taught by Salzman. So again, you know, you've got a guy teaching sports to girls, and so it'd be nice for our female athletic coaches to, you know, give something to the female athletes to do. So, Are there any more questions regarding possible new course proposals? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the naming of the before school and after school program.
Yeah, so we're proposing the name Club Falcon, way to, again, to give our parents an opportunity to have a fourth after school.
Are there any questions regarding the name or any of the pricing or anything? It's pretty self-explanatory. I like that we're moving forward with this.
Well, I mean, I have on the before and after, we're on the fees, correct?
That's
They
it.
distracted me for a second, sorry.
So yeah, next up is the fees, so if you have a question, go ahead.
Will there be scholarships available for families that may not be able to afford the fees? A way to help meet those needs for some
No,
families?
It's yes, I think there's community members who do those types of things. You know, would we be able to, I'd have to work with our finance team on what we can and can't do as far as the district on that, but, you know, are we on fees now?
Yes, we're
Okay,
on
so the fees are,
They're
We just got over it.
much, but
well, the fees are, you know, I think, you know, we looked at $5, let me just pull up my thing too. So we went with $5 in the AM, $10, $10 after school, $5 for SUSD is $6 and $12. So for someone who's taking their kids to Scottsdale, it would save some money by staying here locally. I can't answer that as far as would we be able as a district to provide that. I have to get back to you on that. I do know that we do have donors who do from time to time put money towards that, but I don't have an answer to that.
Does Boys and Girls Club offer scholarships?
yes, I guess so.
They do based on your, I believe on like income status.
Kind of like our free and reduced lunch rate.
Correct, so we can work with our finance team on, what we can do as far as free, reduced, or something along that line, but what we need to get established is the cost, so we can get literature out to our families, that this is a go, we do have before and after school care, it is this cost, and we also added, there's a daily rate, we wanted to have a little bit of an a la carte for people that was something to talk to us about, that we could, if you don't need it every day, you're not locked into some payment that is very high, so try to be flexible and grow the program.
And what age group is this gonna cover?
It's for all preschool.
Oh, just
Just preschool. So we both offer it.
We haven't gotten there yet with kindergarten through 5th grade. We have to look at staffing costs, all that, but it's imperative to me to grow the preschool. That's where we're trying to get as many kids in the door and get them ready for coming to our kindergarten. And like I said, when the building's done, I think they'll be very impressed with it and want to go.
Well, that's interesting to know that this, I didn't realize it was just for preschool, but when my kids went to preschool, many years ago, like 20, it was $5 an hour for aftercare. So, not daily, $5 an hour. So,
It's pricey for that.
so I think $5 a day is pretty good, so.
Can't get childcare for that.
No, so, I mean, like, yeah, and my kids used to stay for, they only did the half day, so they wanted to stay for lunch, so I'd have to pay $5 and send their lunch.
And just while we're discussing it, we also talked prior to this about working with our finance team also on, is there a way to give a multi-child discount? And I think that's important to families, how that would work, those in structure, I need more time on, but again, we're just trying to establish and get it out to our community that you can plan on for next year, that we'll have this available, and then we can fine tune it as we go through the rest of the year, but we're just trying to establish the name, the cost and everything like that, so we can get our interest, people registered and ready to go.
Any other questions regarding the before and after school program? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the vacant building options. Unfortunately, Grady had to leave, but he has left John Wesley here to talk to us. So Dr. J, I'll let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, so one of the things, we have two presentations tonight regarding the vacant building options, and I'd like to go back to our facility use committee and finish conversations as we wind down this year about what options we want to take. If we want to bring something to an election, we have to make that decision, I believe, by June. And so it's already almost March, and by the time you get out and have multiple meetings and take feedback. So I thought the best way to start that is to hear from the town as far as what we can and can't do. And then also we have Jeremy Callis, who is our other finance team, him and Tyler, the two from True Professional. So Jeremy's here tonight also to give you some additional information. So I want to start.
So it's John Weston, Development Services Director with the town. So Grady gave me, a little bit of background in terms of Bell and Four Peaks. He wasn't sure exactly what schools you were wanting to talk about, but maybe I need to hear a little bit more.
We can start with Four Peaks.
At the school currently there, that it has been used with the Biz Hub. And so, that continuing as far as the town's concerned. Had a few concerns about, one of the businesses that was in there before in terms of its impact on the neighborhood. But other than that, it continues kind of as it has in the past. We're certainly fine with that. Grady mentioned that he heard that maybe there's some thought about taking the building stuff down. If that were to occur, the town would have some interest in a dialogue about expanding some of the park use on the property that the town could then be a part of and operate. We have to obviously look at the details of that, but we would definitely be interested in talking about that option there, if that's where we're going.
Would the general plan need to be altered if we were to take the building down?
No.
But if it was sold to a developer?
The property is currently zoned for residential use, so a developer that's willing to turn it into single-family dwellings, I believe it's R18, I have to verify that, so 8,000 square foot lots. If they're willing to do that, there's no zoning change, plan change for that. Maybe some option to increase or decrease that density a little bit, depending on what they want to do, but we have to work with that neighborhood with the zoning process.
It's good to know.
So the general plan on all of our sites just conforms to the around, to the surrounding use.
Pretty much, yes. Our general plan went to a character-based approach, and so less specific on exact land use occurring. And so we look at the surrounding land use zoning and try to keep things similar for the most part.
And that was improvement, I go back 40 years, and that wasn't the case in our first general plan. It was very specific. This was the school site. So in the new agreements or new voted on general plans, we've done a good job for us.
Yes. Yes, hopefully for the town as a whole, I think, again, because we're so built out, uses are established, but they're never exact. And so we want to try and be that prescriptive about it.
Okay.
I think we've got enough built infrastructure that we can have this flexibility.
Would the town, I'm not saying you're talking for Grady or the council or anybody else, but you mentioned the need for additional park space over there. You know, for $1 you can have it.
Excellent.
You tear it down.
I'm not sure about that.
As is, you get it as is. No, I'm just kidding, but, you know, when I was on this thing a long time ago, right? And when we sold or we gave the balance of that whole lot to the town, we kept what's now Boys and Girls Club. That was our administrative office in Fort Peaks. But there was a lot of talk, even back then, if we didn't need those buildings or we were going to expand somewhere else, that there would be need for more parks. So I think taking that option to the town as is for $1 and see what happens.
Okay, yeah, always have the discussion. I kind of think Ray was talking about the buildings already removed.
Sure was. That's negotiable.
There you go.
And if it's a developer, you know, that's an option too, although in most cases, it would require a vote of the public. The only one that wouldn't would be between similar governmental entities, which we did numerous times in the past.
And what about McDowell Mountain? What is that zoned?
So that is also zoned a single-family residential. I have to verify which one.
R10, I believe.
That would, I suspect that's probably right, but I haven't looked at that one in a while. And so very similar. It could be scraped and developed for residential uses. It was used existing zoning, then it just be a matter of going through that planning process. If it was something different in terms of the land use, either denser or maybe a commercial corner or whatever, there'd be some rezoning process to go with that to make it work.
So I think our biggest concern was that when we had talked about this before, Dana had brought up about the general plan. And so that's why we asked Grady to come, is we wanted confirmation that, you know, if we chose to sell those properties, we wanted to sell them knowing, you know, what we could do with them, and if it was gonna affect the general plan, it may not be the best option, but you're saying that it would not affect the general plan any longer.
No, particularly for the Four Peaks, you'd really have to get pretty crazy with some type of industrial use or something for us to think about a general plan change. On McDowell, that's a little bit bigger property and it's undeveloped around it. Again, depending on where you went, if somebody wanted to do maybe a large commercial, do it all as a commercial track, and that might require a general plan change, but if it stayed with the zoning that was there, anything similar in types of zoning, that wouldn't be a general plan.
Thank you.
That's good.
That's our biggest question.
Yeah,
Okay.
let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you for hanging out and learning
Yes,
about
thank
the
you.
other side.
So, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
I'll get to tell Beatty to get you coffee, whatever it takes.
So I want to introduce Jeremy has been helping us all year as part of True Professionals, and Tyler, and helping with Alicia learning the job. So we thank you so much for all your work all year, and especially for coming tonight.
See, and Tyler's been getting all the credit.
I'm glad Tyler's been doing a good job for you guys out here, Madam President, members of the board. I'll just add a little bit more on my background. So I have several consulting companies, with True being one of them. And with True, we have 12 sub-consultants, with Tyler being one of them. And he's been your primary out here, but then I help whenever Kane says you guys need additional support. I'm with 65 school districts right now here in Arizona, between consulting companies. And then in addition to that, in my spare time, I'm also the full-time CFO over at Tulsa Union High School District.
Other than that,
Yeah, other than that. Former president of ASBO, and I just stay busy. So, with that, I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about the different options you have with the land, and how that'll play out. Is everything looking good up there? Jump straight to the second slide, that'll work. First, talk about when there would be a need for a ballot question, what that ballot question looks like. Then talk about each of the different options, selling the land, exchanging the land, leasing a property, go through those options, and then open it up for any questions beyond that. So the ballot question, so it would be a site question. You call for an election similar as you would for a bond or an override. These site questions typically pass pretty easily, knock on wood. They usually run 70-30 in most districts. It's not an issue you really see contentious with voters. I'm not aware of a site question that's failed in the past couple of decades. But essentially what you're asking the voters is for the authority. The question will read to lease, sell, or exchange your property. Exchange is not really necessary. We always put it into the question. You actually have authority to exchange without having to go to the voters. But typically the way the site question is worded, it will say lease, sell, or exchange, so that way the voters know that you are considering all three possible options. It is absolutely needed before you can sell the property. Leasing of the property, it is needed if you're going to go greater than 20 years. So when you're looking at anywhere from 20 to 99 years for the lease, then yes, you have to do that through a ballot question. We're going to get more into lease, but the less than 20 wouldn't need the ballot question. So selling property, that's covered in ARS 151102. The statute I'm very familiar with because I went to modify that. I was co-author for the last time we modified the statute 8 years ago. The way it works out with selling property is if you're a high debt district, which you guys are nowhere close to being, but that would be a high debt district is when you have over 14% outstanding debt in relation to your assessed value. For those districts, 38% of the sale has to actually go back towards paying down your debt. So your outstanding bond indebtedness. Outside of that, for low debt districts or for the high debt districts outside of the 38%, everything that's left can be used for capital. When you need to use these funds for M&O purposes, it's simple enough. During the Great Recession, we had a lot of flexibility added into statute. So back then, living through the Great Recession, we didn't have any money. And so they said, well, for the pennies you guys got left, we don't care how you spend it. And we got a lot of flexibility past. All that flexibility has stayed in law since then. So in order to be able to use this for M&O, all you would simply do is look at things that you are already paying for out of capital. You would then pay for that with these funds, which would be school plant. And once you've freed up that capacity in capital, you can now redirect your district additional assistance instead of going to capital to cover those costs, going over to M&O. So now you have extra money in M&O to use towards an M&O purpose, such as like a raise or increased staffing.
that's one-time money though, right?
On a sale, it is absolutely one-time money. The same principles apply once we start getting into leasing, which would be ongoing revenue. All right, so is it time to sell? Is it time to look at selling a parcel? Low debt status, as I said, you guys have low debt status, so you don't have to worry about the 38% hit on what you sell for, so yes, that works. Is it a seller's market? Prices have, backdropped about another 10% from the peak, so really kind of just missed a great time to sell. especially with interest rates continuing to go up through 23. But still, it's not exactly a horrible time for being out on the market selling. Who are you going to sell to is key, right? Obviously, worst case scenario, don't sell to a charter operator. Best case scenario, do sell to someone who's gonna bring you in families. Now, as the town has pointed out, you guys, the area is zoned for low-density residential. It's, not very affordable out here in Fountain Hills, and low-density residential is even less affordable. It's probably not where the market is right now with the way things are. A medium density, multifamily, those would play out well in the market. Depend on the parcel, you have 4 vacant pieces of land, you have the building, but that again is gonna require some rezoning. So if you're selling to somebody, and of course that's gonna be on the builder at that point, they're gonna work with the town. You're gonna sell them the parcel, they're gonna go through the process of getting everything rezoned. They would already show that they have value. But I'm telling you where the market's at, they're probably wanting to do some medium density around here. You guys already have a lot of low density. You're gonna have a lot of builders who would love to do some medium density. There would be more affordable housing out here. But that would be a good one, because once you sell to a home builder and bring in those families, you have more students. Once you have more students, you have more revenue. It's easier to manage class sizes. Everything works out better once you have more younger families coming in here. They tend to vote yes on your election, so we don't go through what just happened with the last bond election. So that could be a good option. There's no SFB reversion attached to land. That's one of the things you would want to look out for. The only time that happens with the school facilities board is if the school facilities board has purchased the land for you. So if they have purchased the land for you, in the event that you ever decide you don't need that land and you sell it, they expect the money back. So you've had these pieces of dirt for quite a while. School facilities board came in 1998 after the settlement on the Roosevelt Bishop case in 94. Some of your land you guys have been holding on to since 76, when I was checking deeds, so I mean, you guys have been sitting on this dirt for quite a minute. There's no SFB reversion from everything I could see when I looked over your parcels. All right, so we're gonna move on from selling the land to exchanging the land. Exchanging, you have that authority under ARS 15342, but as I said, because you want to keep all of your options open, when you call for the question, you do usually disclose that you're also considering an exchange of the land. So the question will read to say all 3 of them. You are required to make sure that you exchange for equal or greater value. One other thing to point out on the selling, you are required to make sure that you are getting an appraised value for the land, so we can't actually sell to the city for $1. It would have to be at appraisal value if you're selling to anyone. And it's the same test here. You'd have to do an appraisal, and so if you're doing a swap of land with someone, then you have to make sure that you're getting equal value in return. And the word straight from statute is that you're doing this based on sound business principles, so that you actually believe that it is in the district's best interest to do this exchange. Ballot question is not required, but as long as you're keeping your options open, again, you're going to call for the question, you're going to say we're considering all 3 at this point.
So exchange for what?
Exchange for another parcel, exchange for services, exchange for, typically, so exchanges don't happen too often, but typically it's a parcel for parcel switch. And I'm actually going to get into it a little bit on the next slide about when would you look at an exchange. So when is it time for an exchange? High debt districts, I always recommend, find a way to exchange out of that parcel. Don't sell the parcel, because you're going to get hit with the 38%. And so typically, if you're in a high debt district, my recommendation, which again, you guys are not, so this doesn't apply, but typically my recommendation would be, what are you trying to do with the money once you make this transaction? And I get a feedback like, we want to build a performing arts center. Okay, then exchange for a performing arts center. Exchange for those services. You don't take the 38% hit. They pay to construct your performing arts center, and in exchange for that, you're giving them this piece of dirt. And so that would be a good time.
We have a history of exchange. The high school says that was exchanged with the parcel south and north of us, where we're at here. And so, but on the other hand, we've worked out with the town numerous times for our land without any compensation from the the town? How was that done?
For you to receive land from the town without any compensation,
No,
or
other
for
way
you to
around.
give land
We-
to the
we-
town without compensation?
We gave a big chunk of land near Four Peaks back in the day. We owned that whole block, and we gave it to the town to develop as a park. Now, I think maybe, I was on the board then, but I think that was a long time ago, and I think we talked about, we could use that park as well for our students that went to school at Four Peaks. So they developed a park, and we had use of it. Would that qualify today?
That, if you're showing it as a sound business principle, that you believe you are getting your value through the joint use of the area, you could stretch it and make that qualify. So yes, if you're getting, in return for exchanging that, they're developing that parcel into a park that is also gonna be for joint use, and you're gonna have a perpetual agreement to be able to use that for joint use, then you could demonstrate that you got value from that, and that it was based on sound business principles and in the district's interest. So yeah, you could find a way to make something like that work.
Thank you.
A tangible asset is needed in return for the exchange, so whenever you're doing this exchange, you do have to demonstrate you are getting a tangible asset back that's just as valuable as your property. A lot of times when you want to do this, is positioned to a asset that's better for leasing. So let's take the previous example of considering selling to a home builder. Even better, exchange with the home builder. Exchange with the home builder, tell them you will give them this dirt that is ideal for building homes. In exchange, they give you something that is ideal, maybe for a commercial development, that you could then be the landlord on, lease out, and have ongoing revenue. Now you have the best of both worlds, because you have the home builder bringing in all these families, and over here you have the lease revenue from your commercial development, so you got it all that way instead of just the one end.
You know, I've been around too long, but if we did do a builder development, and part of that said, we're going to get 6 residential units out of that development, you know, is that a good business decision? Well, now we can lease those out or rent those out to staff or families, whatever it is. Is that something that's possible?
So we're gonna get into that with lease. So that wouldn't be with the exchange itself, because once you exchange or sell the parcel, you're done with the parcel. And at that point, maybe they told you they were gonna build medium density, or maybe they completely changed their mind, maybe they work out something with the town and they wanna go a whole nother direction with it. Once you've exchanged your property, it's their property and they're gonna take it. But with lease, you still maintain ownership of the parcel, so we're gonna talk a little bit about lease. Lease is covered in 15.1102, 15.1105, and 15.491. Anytime you're gonna go over 20 years, it's going to require an election. And this is for you to be on either side of a lease transaction. This is for you to be the lessee or the lessor. So I'll give you an example of when you would be the lessee. Let's take the situation you guys were addressing earlier. If you're in a situation where you need some capital funding fairly quickly, you can be a lessee who is lease purchasing back your own property. It'd be similar to how a home equity line of credit would work. You could take cash out now that you're now going to be obligated to pay back over time, and finance out so you can take care of an immediate capital need. Now, when you do that, when you do a lease of that nature, you have to show an ability to repay out of your existing budget. So, but you can be a lessee that way. As a lessor of these properties, of these vacant lands, these vacant buildings, if you're gonna do it for more than 20 years, then you have to go out to the voters and make sure you have their approval. If you can do it for less than 20 years, then you can just enter that agreement. So it'd be as simple as Kenny bringing forward an agreement saying, hey, we got somebody who wants to use this area for 20 years. You guys approve it, this is how much money they're gonna give us, and then you guys vote on that and say yes, and there you go, you got a tenant. The funds can be used for capital, but again, there's ways to free that up for M&O. There's also the fact that when I co-authored, and I wasn't getting along well with the other person who was co-authoring with me, and we changed the statute 8 years ago, it was to completely open this up for also any M&O use. But that's still debated, so I actually have an Attorney General's opinion that I'm working on right now to make sure we clarify that it should be M&O, but right now, The one thing nobody's gonna dispute is that the lease revenue can be used for capital, and again, it's just an extra little maneuver to free up M&O with that funding once it comes in. So is it time to lease? It's time to lease if you want an ongoing revenue stream, right? So leases will create an ongoing revenue stream. To think about how lucrative that could be, just look at the Kyrene deal. So Kyrene Elementary just leased out 28 acres. It's right there, good frontage on I-10. It did a 77-year lease for $100 million, 28 acres. You guys have parcels that are bigger than 28 acres. You don't have freeway frontage, but the value of the land around here is pretty significant. So, you know, you could get a pretty sizable offer. You are looking north of 50 years to get any sizable offer, and that is simply because nobody is going to build out that land if they don't know they can get an ROI from the buildings that they just invested in. So you do have to go greater than 50 years to get big numbers like that with what Kyrene is doing.
That was a land lease.
That was land lease, correct. Now, on the smaller end, completely smaller end of the spectrum, you should never let these assets just sit idle. I mean, it's like stuffing cash in your mattress. You guys have some very valuable assets. You do want to put the assets to work one way or another, even if it's just for minimal use. You know, you can. I've seen parcels where people just year round have something going on in them. It's Christmas trees. It's a pumpkin patch. It's like at least that's bringing in a little bit of money off the dirt. These are valuable assets, so you know, you usually don't want them just sitting dormant and not generating any revenue for the district. So it would be good to at least, if you're not going to go for the big dollars, then at least get some money generating off these assets. All right, so some of the next steps, once you look at moving forward, you would call for an election. My recommendation is when you call for the election, just name all the parcels. You can name them all on the same question. You don't have to run it as multiple questions. Again, these things typically pass 70-30. I rarely see any site sale question come in contested. So I'd be shocked to see yours get contested. Just name them all on one question. That one should go through. And I would just name all the possible sites you're considering. So that way, once you get that authorization, you could then work that out down the road about which one to do with each parcel. That election, once you call for that election and the voters authorize that authorization from the voters will stay valid for 20 years. So if at any point in time over the next 20 years, you decide, hey, you know what, we should really do something with that dirt, you would have already called for the question. You won't have to wait for another November. It would already be done, and you would just go ahead and at that point in time move forward with doing something with that dirt. So also the next step is just finalizing the strategy between the vacant buildings and the vacant land. You know, what you want to look at for revenue generation, short-term and long-term. On the buildings, I mean, if you brought in a tenant who could use the buildings as is, that doesn't require any zoning change. So you could rent those out pretty quickly if you happen to find a tenant, other than a charter school, who would actually use the building as is and find good use for it that way. That would be a good tenant to have. On the vacant land, you're going to have a lot of interest on that vacant land. You guys, I mean, you have some really nice dirt in the middle of neighborhoods. Home builders especially will jump on that vacant land, so that won't be much of an issue. I would still suggest the use of a land broker. Nathan and Associates has helped the district out before. They're familiar with your dirt. I've done great work with Nathan and Associates. I think that's a great firm. I would recommend the use of a land broker because they'll shake all the trees for you and find out who wants to use your land and just bring you back those offers. So let them do all the work for you. And that makes it a lot easier. And then it's just a matter of determining, you know, what's your risk reward comfort level. You know, when you're looking at leasing out some of this land, are you comfortable with going with a really long lease? Do you have any concerns that, well, what if at some point our communities turn over and we have a ton of families and now we do need a school at that piece of dirt? You know, and that happens within the next 70, 80 years. And we would want access to that dirt. Well, you're gonna sign an agreement with someone. How comfortable are you with committing to a long-term agreement on the use of the dirt? Now, the fact that you have several parcels to consider makes it a little bit easier to get comfortable, because maybe on just one or two, you're signing a long-term agreement, knowing that in the event that the neighborhood's turned over, and you got a lot of young families coming into here, and you needed more space, that you would still have other parcels that you could utilize for that need. So that would be some things just for you guys to work out. In terms of the building itself, if you are going to sell, tear down, or do anything with the building, it would require SFB approval, because it is a reduction of per pupil square footage. I know you guys recently did a reconfiguration, you already got the SFB approval on that, it's the same process. You're just telling them, hey, you know what, we're gonna get rid of this building, we don't see us needing it in the near future. Their demographer will then share some numbers with them, say, I completely agree with them, they're not gonna need it in the near future, and then the board would vote and say, yes, they can go ahead and eliminate that square footage. I wouldn't expect that you guys would have any trouble with that. But you do have to do the submission to SFB, so they're aware that you're about to either repurpose the building into a long-term lease, or tear it down, or sell it, like SFB would need to be made aware at that point. But with that, I can take any questions.
That's very good, by the way. It's, you know, we've got 2 parcels that have buildings on them, schools, and 3 parcels that are vacant land that have never been platted. They are zoned, but not platted. So the lease of those, whether it's 50 years or 70 years, would bring constant revenue and no investment on our part, normally. The developer would do the investment and return on it and pay us an agreed upon lease payment every year. Is that kind of how we're talking?
Absolutely. You could keep it, so it's about how involved you want to be, but you could keep it completely at arm's reach, where you do nothing other than say, hey, we're providing the dirt, you do everything else from here, and we'll have our hand out once a year, put a check in it. You can have it as that simple. Typically what a developer will do will say, I'm going to look at your asset, I'm going to price the value of your asset at X, I am investing my own capital funds to get this development going, I'm going to price that at X, we're going to see proportionally how much we're both putting into this, what are our revenue projections, and then based on that, they're going to make you a lease offer and say, so based on what we're both bringing to the table, this is how much I propose that I could pay you on an annual lease. Once they lock into that agreement, then yes, it is as simple as making sure that every year you get your check. I have seen people get more involved. I mean, there's different ways to get more involved. There's IDA bonds, there's P3 deals. I mean, there's different ways to get more involved in that. If you wanted a greater share of the revenue, there's revenue sharing options that some of these developers will do. So there are ways to get more involved. But I'd say the best thing to do is, especially since your bonds aren't completely passing, my recommendation would be, do an arm's length transaction where you're doing nothing other than a ground lease, and it's like, there's the dirt, here's the lease, and we'll just take an annual payment for it.
If we do residential, and it's residential for sale, we go into the land lease situation like Maloof did in Scottsdale years and years ago, where, the people have paid for the house. It's, that's a different structure. If we do similar to like where I live in the ghetto, then it's rental property, and at 50 years, it's the school's rental property unless they want to move it.
Yes, absolutely. If you're wanting a home builder on there, I would suggest the sell or exchange route. It's going to make it less complicated. But if you're doing rental properties, absolutely, lease will work for that. Because then when you get to the end of the lease, I mean, you term everybody out, move them out, or you go ahead and say, okay, we're going to reauthorize the lease at this point. So, I mean, you have a lot more flexibility there. But if it's single family homes, I'd go ahead and go down the route of selling or exchanging the property and letting the home builder just take ownership at that point, so they can go ahead and develop that out.
Are there other questions?
Before panic sets in. We're really, despite him talking about multiple properties, parcels of land we own, we're really, as a board, currently only discussing the two with the buildings. Is that correct? Or are we?
Well, I wanted you to hear what needs to go into place, so you have that. We all learned something tonight,
Yes.
which is great. But yes, the purpose of Jeremy coming and the town coming is to really take a look at the vacant buildings. Okay, so looking at Four Peaks and McDowell Mountain, because I don't have comfort of not having parcels of land for future schools, because I'm trying to get to a point where the district grows enough to where we need another school. That's my hope, and that we have those land pieces already available. So I checked the boarding report earlier today. To get Four Peaks to an acceptable level is $5 million. We have so many other needs to put $5 million into Four Peaks, and it's not an inviting campus anymore. It's not built for modern education, and so it's dark and it's a lot of walls and not open space. And I think, if you had, let's just say you had kids at McDowell Mountain Elementary, the new McDowell, and then you had to open up that school again as another elementary, you'd have a lot of people upset about having to go to that school versus the other one. And so I just think the sewage issues was a lot, and I came in to this position with the idea that I would do everything to keep the buildings, but as time has gone on and I've learned more about it, I just don't think, especially Four Peaks, I don't think it's savable at this point, and even if it were, I don't think it's the right model anymore for a modern day school system.
Yeah, it's not financially prudent to put money into it. There's too much work that needs to go in there. But with that, just because we have 5 parcels of land. We have 2 with buildings and 3 open spaces. If we put all 5 of them, name them all on the ballot, we have 20 years to decide what we're gonna do with that. We don't have to do anything. Like, if it got approved and we decided we were only doing anything with the 2 buildings, those 3 parcels of land that are vacant, we don't have to do anything with them. We never have to sell them just because we put them up, to get voter approval to sell them.
Absolutely, Madam President. You never have to take any action on it, on any of the parcels at that point. It just gives you authorization that if at any point over the next 20 years you decide you want to take action on one of the parcels, whatever you had on there, you can move forward with immediately. So let's say if you were in the event of trying to, having a land broker come in and trying to market one of the parcels with buildings, and they actually say, we're getting a lot of interest about your vacant piece of dirt, and would you guys consider anything with that vacant piece of dirt? If you don't just go ahead and just put all 5 listed when you do the question, then the first thing that's gonna happen is you'll have to put them on hold and say, well, can you wait for us to go back out for another November? Typically on the private side, they're not as patient as we are in the public sector. I tell you, with having to work with a lot of people on private sector, like, when they want to do something, like, if they're like, no, I need self-storage there right now, like, they want to move, like, immediately, and when they hear that things are going to be tied up, then they lose interest and just go look for another parcel. So it would give you the ability to consider all 5 in the future over the next 20 years, but it doesn't require you to do anything with any of the parcels.
So it saves another election later. And when I first came on the board, we had talked about selling those parcels and opted to not, but at that time, we were told that we only had 10 years, that we had, that the vote was only good for 10 years. Has that changed?
Absolutely, I got to work on both of those bills as well, so I was with the team pushing for that. So, so that was 10 years, man, we were there back in 2012, we started changing some of that, so that must have been.
That's when I came on the board, was 2012, so.
Yeah, so that was a while ago, and we're back on 10. So when we went to go increase bond limits, so bond limits were at 5 and 10% because they got lowered after 1998. They got lowered down to 5 and 10, and we had to get those increased back to 10 and 20. And when we were doing that on that same bill, we ran to start increasing the lease. Well, we increased it to 15. There wasn't really a lot of pushback from the legislature on us moving from 10 to 15. So then we waited like a couple years, and we thought about it, and we're like, well, if they didn't really care and we moved this from 10 to 15, would they care if we moved from 15 to 20? So then we came back and moved it from 15 to 20.
So
At some point, we'll probably need to go back and say, well, would they care if we move it from 20 to 25?
Five.
But, but yes, it used to be 10, now it's 20.
So yeah, so that's the only thing, is if the board decides to go out for election, we could put all 5 properties, knowing that those 3, isn't what we're looking at doing. But at least then, 18 years from now, another board sitting here wouldn't have to go back out for vote and pay for another election on that particular item.
There's
Obviously, we
potential
do that.
for 10 new board structures over that 20 years.
Absolutely.
Jeremy, so let me throw a scenario at you. So let's say, let's say McDowell Mountain, let's just say best case scenario, okay? And also it could be a worst case scenario for us, is that the preschool grows and it's doing well at McDowell Mountain. McDowell Mountain, the new McDowell Mountain, which is now our middle school, grows to a point where we have no more room for kids, okay? I know this is a crazy scenario, I'm just throwing it up. So let's say it grows to a point where it's busting and we need to move forward. At that point, when we're at capacity issues, then my understanding is the school facility board comes in and helps us with a new site. Would they have us build on a vacant lot, or would they have us renovate a current building if we did nothing with those buildings at this time?
That is a great question. So the way it works out, Madam President, is school facilities board, the reason why they have to approve the reduction of square footage, whether that's because you're selling, you're leasing, you're demolishing the building, is because they are on the hook in the event that you need square footage again down the road. When they come in and you get to a point, they look at your numbers and like, wow, you guys are actually growing. You guys are actually going to need space again. They're going to look at both options. One will be, well, how much are you growing? And so they're going to look at a 4 to 8 year window, and they're going to say, on year 6, this is about how many students you guys are on track to need space for. And they're going to try to, get you money 2 years ahead of time before you actually need it and hit the capacity number. But they're looking at year 6 to determine how much space you need for these new students. Now, when they come up with that calculation, if it's a small number of students, they'll probably ask you, well, it isn't that much more space that you need. Could you place another building on one of your sites to accommodate this space? If you tell them no, you want to go with a whole new site, you can do that. It doesn't change the amount of the square footage allocation that they're going to give you, though. And remember, you're trying to build common areas and everything, so it really depends on the growth. But if you are growing really fast, and you're like, no, actually, we want a whole new school site on one of our vacant pieces of dirt. If you are trying to get them to acquire land for you, when they see that you have land, they're not going to do the land acquisition, because then you would have to give justification for why the existing land that you own is not suitable for the development. You can get geographic regions where it's like, well, the land is actually over here, but we're growing over here, that's why we need it over there. You can do those kinds of things. Just looking at the layout of the district though, and how much vacant land you have right now, you're probably getting told build on one of your available pieces of dirt. But they could do a whole new building, a whole new school site, in the event that you have enough growth to justify that you're gonna need a whole new school site. So getting rid of some of your existing buildings now reduces your capacity, and maybe it makes it to a point where, I don't know, 10, 15 years down the road, you guys see a turnover, you get new families, you have people coming back home. Maybe you get to a point where you can justify needing a new school and get a brand new school built on one of the vacant pieces of land.
So if I'm hearing you right, not having the vacant buildings, but assist in getting a new school, which would be modern and have all the safety upgrade, everything you need, versus them saying, well, we're just gonna renovate this Four Peaks building and get it back in shape for students to enter.
Absolutely, and that's assuming two things. One, that when SFB looks at their numbers, they can say that over the next 10 years, we don't see you needing this space, we approve the reduction of square footage. And then two, that you actually get that many more students coming back in. If you get some more single-family development, especially if you can get some medium-density single-family development, I think you guys could see a a lot more families, and obviously it's a very desirable place to live. You know, I've staycationed out here, I think it's great. I was at Copper Wing, I had a great view of the fountain out in the distance, I mean, it's like, it's a desirable place, I think you can get some families here if it was more affordable housing.
And I just think if we're gonna be making a decision, we have to think about that worst case scenario of, you know, like I said, it's worse and best. It's worse because you're having to deal with what do you do, but best case because we've accomplished something that we've really been trying to do, which is raise enrollment. So I just want to make sure we have an understanding of how that would work. Okay.
And I think the main thing is if we were to go up to, ask the voters to approve this, letting them know that we have 20 years to do it, it's gonna be a lot of education site, but we're really not talking about going to the vacant land to sell, because that seemed to be the problem before, when people were upset. We're just talking about the buildings that are not feasible for us to use at all.
I just like the idea of having those sites available to build new schools in the future if we can do this versus, spending, having to sit, like I said, I'm really worried about that time if it ever comes where the two schools are just not equal in their appearance and value, and now you have now attendance boundary issues, which we've never had here, right? And I think that's just something I think we need to be have some forethought on down the road of how we go about it. I know it's a big dream, and it's
it's good thinking, but we just went through this, 20, 30 years ago, the same exact discussion. And the only two parcels, the three parcels that we have that are undeveloped are not suited for schools. They're hillside. And we looked at all three of them before we built the middle school until we got the idea to lease the land from the state to build the middle school. So the two that we have with buildings on them are our primary potential lots for redevelopment of the school.
Okay.
So, selling both of them at least might not be our best situation, but holding one of them in ownership that went down the road we could take back and build another school facility is something we should probably.
I think McDowell Mountain offers at least an opportunity with the space to redesign it and reimagine the building to be more of a modern school. I just, when I look at Four Peaks, I just don't see it. I just see it being one issue after another. So I think our focus tonight is really on, do we want to go back to the facility use committee and start having a conversation of, because I do want the voters who did share out that we have assets we need to address before we're going to approve a bond or override in the future. I want to be able to say to them, we listened and we did try to do this, and what the outcome is the outcome. But and we do have a developer interested in the Four Peaks land right now.
Is there? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just math. Is there a factor lease to value that you could throw a number at? Is it 10% a year? Is it?
No, it's Madam President, it's really gonna vary based on the use case for the land. When I look at a lot of, especially the dirt itself, I see a lot of that being lending towards residential.
Yes.
A lot of single family, just looking at it being tucked in the neighborhoods like that, especially with low density around it, that lends itself towards residential. And that's probably gonna lend itself more towards a sale as opposed to a lease. But it's going to depend on the structure. So when you work with a developer and you're working out the agreement on the lease, there's a couple of things that they'll more than likely offer to you. One, some developers like to see some revenue coming in before they have to start making their payment. And if you're willing to make the lease payments be a little bit more back heavy, they're willing to pay more, because then they don't have to come up with as much upfront capital to make their development work. So that could get you a higher lease revenue overall if you're willing to be a little bit more back heavy on the lease. The length of the term is going to be key. The longer the term, the better you're going to see, because then they know that they have a significant amount of time to get their investment back. And they're going to take all of their capital investment And they're gonna look out, so let's, take it from the developer's perspective. If I'm about to drop 15 million into developing this parcel, and you give me 50 years, well, I'm looking at how much am I gonna earn per year? How much can I recoup of the 15 million over that 50-year period? And then based on my anticipated earnings and what I wanna keep as my profit share, then I know what I can afford to pay you on a lease payment. But when you tell me that I got a lease for 99 years, well now, my capital investment, I'm spreading out over a 99-year period, it's not as significant, and now I can afford to pay you a higher lease because I don't have to recoup my capital investment as quickly. So it's really gonna depend on the structure of the deal, to show how much you'd end up getting for that. But again, the best example out there right now is the Kyrene deal. I prior to being at Tulsa, I was the CFO of Kyrene, so it's a little salty because I tried to push that board to do that deal a long time ago, and then as soon as I left, they're like, hey, remember that thing Jeremy used to say? I think that's a great idea now. I'm like, really? I'm like, you guys are just doing this to get me now. But they did that after I left, so that's the best deal out on the market.
We made some transactions, especially with the town, where the park is just off Saguaro. That was ours too. And we were gonna build there, but it was commercial and kids and so forth, just wasn't the right place. So we basically gave it to the town to build the park. Wish we had it back.
I know, because you could lease it for commercial and you'd have some good revenue coming in off that. I mean, absolutely.
So, can I ask one
No, you
question?
keep going, it's fine.
So I want to go back to the exchange just to make sure I fully understand that. So if we wanted to exchange our McDowell Mountain property, let's say, with the developer, is it my understanding that we could say we'll exchange this portion of the land with the intent that you will build an early childhood education center for us on this other part?
Absolutely. Yeah. All you have to do is demonstrate that you're getting equal value.
Same thing with Warpies.
Seems to time me out on me.
It decided the meeting.
It's like it's yelling at me, stop talking, you're done.
The heat's off, the lights go off in 10 minutes, yeah.
And this is why we need more revenue.
So I want to bring that to you so we can start that discussion and then, we can then go back when we're ready to the facility use, bring these types of, now that I know what to speak on, we can talk to them and see what we want to do and then make a decision prior to June if we want to go out for that or not. Okay?
And I would just only add one last point. Going down this path does not replace the need for a bond. So, the district would still need to look at calling for a bond, and 23 is a much better year than 24. There's a lot of stuff being planned for 24 that's going to be a very difficult year on the ballot. 23 is a much better year than 24 when you're looking at trying to go back out to your voters.
And between now and the time we see our first dollar from any kind of.
It's going to be that exactly. So when you need cash fast, you're really the other way around. You're doing a lease purchase arrangement because you need the cash right now. But then you're paying interest costs and everything else on that, and that's coming out of your existing budget. So that's your payday loan option is a lease purchase. But the lease revenue, don't expect that you're gonna see money from that right away. Anybody who agrees to it is gonna want some time to finish their development, and they're really gonna ask you for some time to actually bring in some revenue before they have to pay you out.
We used to buy copy machines with lease purchase.
Yeah, lease purchase on copy machines. People still do.
Do they?
Our override didn't pass either, so that's the other thing that capital money is gone, so we were at the end of that. So, can you please forward your presentation to Krista?
Absolutely. I'll give a copy to Krista right now, right on the flash drive. She can just, as long as her computer didn't shut down, she can just take a copy of that right there.
No, Chris works extra overtime. So. Okay, any other questions for Jeremy?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Okay, that concludes that. Future action, if there's something you'd like to see on a future agenda, please contact Kane or Krista. Dates of upcoming meetings, Wednesday, March 8th, we'll have a regular business meeting at 6 o'clock. o'clock, and then on March 22nd, we will have our work study session, 5 p.m., both here in the Learning Center. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'd actually like to request that a review of our code of conduct is put on as a discussion item in the future. Thank you. And with that, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Not asking anything.
Thank you, sir. So good. Appreciate all you guys do. Have a good night. Yep, take care.
Thank you.